Welcome in to another episode of the PFF NFL show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here. It is Mock Draft Monday here on the PFF NFL show. And Dalton, we're not doing a one-round mock. We're not doing a two-round mock. We are doing a full three-round mock draft for the people. Full day one and day two picks. I'm really excited to get through around the top 100 picks or so.
Yeah, I'm with you. 102 picks and a lot of players, I think, especially in that late round two and round three range that we haven't gotten to talk about in a mock draft scenario yet, but I think we can find some really good fits for them.
Absolutely. So we're doing a full three-round mock draft for you guys. Let us know in the chat what you think some of the picks should be. Maybe we'll listen to some of you guys in the chat for some of the picks that we're stuck on here. So make sure you guys get very active in the chat as well. And of course, the mock draft simulator and every single prospect that is available in the 2025 NFL draft, all the stats for those prospects are available with a PFF Plus subscription at subscribe.pff.com. And if you want to do your own mock draft, a 1-round, 2-round, 3-round, or a 7-round mock draft, it's all available with the mock draft simulator, which is only available with a PFF Plus subscription. So again, subscribe.pff.com for the best draft content that there is for the 2025 NFL draft. And with a PFF Plus subscription, you get access to our 2025 NFL draft guide, which I'm pretty sure is coming out very soon, if not today.
I thought, is it today or this week? I think it's sometime this week, I believe.
Sometime this week, yeah. So Dalton and Trevor and I and a bunch of other people are working very, very hard on that PFF draft guide with over 150 prospects in that draft guide, full breakdowns on all of them. That will be available with a PFF Plus subscription as well. But let's pull up the beautiful PFF mock draft simulator. Again, doing a full 3-round mock draft for you guys with the mock draft simulator. Dalton, you wanted the even picks, right?
Yep, you go first.
Okay, so I'll go first. This is what we think will happen for the 2025 NFL draft, and what I think will happen at number 1 overall should be no shock to anyone. That is the Titans will take Cam Ward right now. You saw them kind of getting very chummy at Cam Ward's pro day. They seem to be, he and Brian Callen seem to get along very, very well. Cam Ward was the highest graded quarterback in college football this past season. I think this is who Tennessee is taking at number 1 overall, and it seems like they're moving on from Will Levis, and Cam Ward should be the most likely replacement there.
They didn't get in on the veteran market other than Brendan Allen, and that's really just because he has familiarity with Brian Callahan, the head coach from the Cincinnati days. This feels like it's going to happen until we don't see it happen, right? Highest graded quarterback in college football last year, lowest passing grade for Tennessee in the NFL last year. Kind of just makes too much sense at this point for it not to happen. And Tennessee has said recently that they are narrowing down their options. They're getting closer to a decision. I would assume this is the decision that gets made.
And I know trading out of the number 1 pick was talked about a lot for them. There's reports coming out that I think they want 3 first-round picks for that number 1 overall pick, which in this quarterback draft, I don't know if anyone's willing to give up 3 first-round picks for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, whoever they like. So I think Cam Ward going to Tennessee is the most likely option right now.
Agreed. I'll go second here with Cleveland. I think there's been speculation about Shedeur Sanders. Their quarterback situation is not great right now, obviously, with just Kenny Pickett as the one option on the roster. They didn't get Russell Wilson. He went to the Giants. But I still don't think the Browns are going to take Shedeur Sanders with this 2nd overall pick. I'm not sure that they feel that he's worth that pick. I know there's been a lot of polarizing opinions on Shedeur. I'm a big fan of him, but I don't think the Browns are going to do it. I think they're going to take a premier talent, either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. It sounds lately like they've been leaning towards Carter, just pairing him with Myles Garrett, make it one of the scariest pass rush duos in the league on a team that was already really good in the front 7. Focus the rest of the draft on finding offensive skill players and maybe some help at corner. I'll go with Abdul Carter. They'd make the talent play there on their defensive line.
Yeah, you have him and Myles Garrett there too. I mean, it's already one of the best edge pairings in the NFL if they do that. I would go with Travis Hunter there at number 2 overall, which is exactly what I'm going to do here at number 3 overall. I think the Giants, at this point now, after signing Russell Wilson, after signing Jameis Winston, I think they're not going to take Shedeur Sanders at number 3 overall. I know you disagree with me on that, but I think Travis Hunter is the best football player in this draft because of his two-way potential as a wide receiver and a cornerback, and that's 2 positions, honestly, that New York could stand to improve at. I know they got Malik Neighbors there, but you got Travis Hunter there as your number 2 receiver in New York. That's incredible, and then obviously he could help out at cornerback as well. So I love Travis Hunter. He's the best player in the draft. I think the Giants now will not take a quarterback at number 3 overall. I think they're going to take Travis Hunter.
Yeah, again, this is just a case of taking the best talent on the board, right? Because they did fix up their secondary in free agency. They re-signed Darius Slayton for $12 million a year. They have Wan'Dale Robinson along with Malik Neighbors as well. But Hunter, he's the type of athlete, you bring him in the building and you figure out what to do with him. I get it. If you're not going quarterback, this is the right route to go. Take the best football player. Make your team better. There's always injuries. There's always guys who underperform, right? And at Hunter, when you have somebody of that level of talent, you just have to take the gamble on it. So I get it. Look, look, I don't think Shedeur is off the board because I think it's very easy to move off of, let's say, in August. If Shedeur proves himself worthy at one of the top 2 spots, on their depth chart, you could trade Jameis Winston. He only makes $4 million a year. I think there's a lot of teams that would still take him as their backup. I'm not sure why they didn't already, but injuries happen, underperformance from teams' backups in preseason happen. I think Jameis would be actually a nice trade chip for him if they were to take Shedeur, but I get the line of thinking the other way too. Take the best football player. You have Russ and Jameis, and figure out the long-term quarterback situation probably next year as you go anyway, right?
We have a comment in chat from JL saying, if you don't get my team's picks exactly right, this is the worst mock ever. JL, let us know who your team is in the chat.
Yeah, that's
a lot of pressure on us there.
Just so we know, we don't want to be guessing now. We'll give it a little extra thought, but we don't want to be guessing which of the 32 it is.
Exactly. Also, I want to get a quick reaction. I know we got a lot to get through today, but quick reaction because breaking college and NFL news. Frank Reich is going to be the interim coach at Stanford for one season as they search for another coach. What do you think about that?
Was he at any point with Andrew Luck and the Colts?
I think he might have been, yeah.
Check that timeline because I assume that's the connection. That's the first thing that comes up.
Because Andrew Luck's the new GM of Stanford football.
Yes, he is. Andrew Luck's running Stanford football. He let go of Troy Taylor last week, their head coach. But Frank Reich,
when did Luck retire? Because he got to Indianapolis in 2018. I think that's maybe 1 year of overlap then, because Luck retired around
somewhere in there. I mean, Reich was with the Colts for a while, so I think it's part of that is some overlap there and getting Reich another head coaching shot. And maybe eventually that turns into an interim to full-time thing. But
maybe. Yeah.
No, I think that's the first thing that pops in my head. I'm like, pretty sure they were together in Indianapolis.
Luck retired in 2018. That was Reich's first year in 2018 as well. So that was for 1 year.
You could argue that was Luck's best year in the NFL, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy at the level that he went out at. But yeah, it's
former Panthers coach Frank Reich, now the Stanford head coach for at least one season. He's the interim coach now after they fired Troy Taylor. Going to be looking for a new coach apparently after this year. But
how about
pretty interesting news right there. All right, let's go to number 4 overall with you with the Patriots.
All right, so Carter and Hunter are both off the board, which makes this a more interesting pick because in basically every mock that we've done, one or the other has been on the board because Shedeur was going top 3, right? So now it's a decision for New England. Okay, do we go wide receiver? Is it Tetero and McMillan? Is it still offensive line? And you were telling me some interesting comments from Mike Vrabel about their offensive line, their left tackle situation, and he views Will Campbell, for now, even despite the lack of arm length, as a left tackle. I think those are your 2 options. You go left tackle or you go receiver. I think the general consensus here is there's at least more day 2 depth, which we might get to later, at receiver than there is as far as true left tackles in this draft. I'm going to take Mike Vrabel at his word. He believes Will Campbell's a left tackle and a darn good one at that. I'll take Will Campbell 4th overall. We'll circle back to where we were about a month ago on this and go with the offensive lineman. Will Campbell completing the Patriots' offensive line. They got Morgan Moses on the right side. Still working on that spot at center with David Andrews being gone. But I think to take a player of this caliber who's got 3 really good years of SEC play in him, it's a good move. The Patriots need a left tackle. They get theirs in Campbell.
It doesn't have great arm length, but I will say he came into LSU's pro day with 33-inch arms, and he came into the combine at 32 and 5/8-inch arms. It actually was found out that the combine measurements were woefully wrong. It seems like every tackle came in with shorter arms at the combine. I think they measured it wrong. So Will Campbell's arm length is actually like a ½ inch bigger than we thought it was, which is 33 inches is like good enough, at least to try him out at tackle, right? So
eventually it's about the tape.
Yeah.
It's about the tape. It's about the football player. I get that every ½ inch matters, but you need a left tackle. Will Campbell you could easily argue is the best offensive lineman in this draft. If they feel he's worth that pick, then it's worth it because right now they still don't have a starting caliber left tackle on their team.
No, exactly. All right, let's go to number 5 overall with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their number 1 player on the board should be Travis Hunter, but he got taken to number 3 overall to the New York Giants. Their number 2 player on their board should be Mason Graham. Mason Graham, I think, is easily the best D tackle that we have in this year's draft. I think he's behind Abdul Carter as the second best defensive lineman that we have in this year's draft as well. I think he is a blue chip talent. I know some people are not as high on Mason Graham. I am very, very high on this guy. This guy has been a superstar in college football all 3 years. He had 80 grades as a true freshman and then 90 grades in each of the last 2 years. Mason Graham is a phenomenal player as a run defender and as a pass rusher. And Jacksonville could stand to improve on that interior defensive line. And James Gladstone, their general manager, even said, hey, we didn't sign any free agents at D tackle because we got to have spots for some of the rookies to play. I think it was kind of a hint saying, hey, we're looking at Mason Graham and some other top D tackles in this year's draft. I think you get Mason Graham at D-line with Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. It's a really, really ferocious defensive line. So I think Mason Graham would be a pretty easy pick for me at number 5 overall.
Absolutely. I think if Hunter's not there, I think that's the pick. Anything else, I don't see it. I just don't see any other pick that makes the most sense like Mason Graham does. They were 28th in the league in defensive tackle grade last year as a team, second worst pass rush grade from their interior last year. I think him as the complement to Eric Armstead, to Josh Hines-Allens, to Trayvon Walker, it completes their front seven. I think could make Jacksonville a dangerous unit very soon.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to number 6 overall with the Las Vegas Raiders.
All right, same old dilemma here. It's Teteroa McMillan or it's Ashton Ginty. And I mean, look, I don't think there's a wrong pick here, but I'm gonna take McMillan here at number 6. I think as the X receiver to complement Jacoby Myers, to complement Brock Bowers, and honestly to complement Geno Smith, who's been a top 10 passer the last 3 years on 10-plus yard targets, the second most big-time throws in the league behind Josh Allen over the last 3 years, and Teteroa McMillan over the last 2 years is the highest-graded receiver in college football on 10-plus yard targets. 6'4", 212, vertical receiver. Figured out this year he can break tackles too and do some things after the catch. He's a complete player. Like, I keep saying it over and over again. I don't think he should get outside the top 8. I think Raiders, Jets, Panthers, even the Patriots at 4 should be interested. I don't really get the mock drafts that have him slipping outside the top 20, even stretching it with Dallas maybe at 12 to complement CeeDee Lamb. But I think there is a choice here because Ashton Ginty wouldn't be the wrong pick, but I think McMillan would fit right in with Geno Smith and the rest of that offense.
I agree. You're looking for a vertical threat for Geno Smith, who really thrives on the ball down the field. And, I love Jacoby Myers. He's a great slot receiver, but he's not really that vertical threat. I think Ted McMillan could be that true X receiver for Las Vegas. And like you said, with him and Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, is a really, really good receiving core all of a sudden. And this is a really good running back class, too. Even if you don't take Ashton Ginty number 6 overall, you can still find a really, really good one on day 2, which we might be doing here in this 3-round mock draft, 37 overall or 68 overall.
Chip Kelly running the offense.
Yeah, well, Quinch, that's a good point. There's 2 Ohio State backs that are pretty high up there.
We got the next hour to think about it.
That's right.
Sure.
So now that we're doing a 3-round mock draft, we're not just saying, on day 2 you can do it. Maybe Dalton and I will do it here on day 2 of this mock draft. But Ted McMillan, love that pick there. To the Raiders, go to your Jets now at number 7 overall. This one's a little tough for me, but I think what I'm going to do, and what I think is going to happen, I'm going to go with Armand Membu, the tackle out of Missouri. I think he slots in perfectly at right tackle for the Jets. I know they took Olu Fashanu last year, but he's kind of their left tackle of the future. I think Membu is a guy they're going to be really interested in, filling the right tackle spot for them. And all of a sudden, you have a starting 5 offensive line that is nasty. So I think getting Justin Fields more protection, and whoever the next quarterback's going to be more protection, I think with Aaron Glenn there, and he saw firsthand how important a dominant offensive line is, I think that New York could be really interested in Armand Membu with the number 7 overall pick.
I can see the case. You look at a starting 5 of Fashanu, Simpson, Tittman, Vera Tucker, and Membu, and you go, okay, that's a good young core to work with, certainly up front. And we know Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand are going to want a good offensive line like they had in Detroit. The only other one is I know Aaron Glenn recently said that he's comfortable with where the tight end room is, guys like Jeremy Ruckert, guys like Stone Smart. I think Tyler Warren's still certainly on the board here.
That's what I was thinking about too.
So, that's going to be the split is do they want the right tackle that they know locks up that last open spot in the offensive line, or do they want a tight end in a room that's really a receiver and tight end devoid of pass catchers right now, right? It's pretty much Garrett Wilson. They signed Josh Reynolds recently. It looks like they may or may not keep Alan Lazard if they can get him to take a pay cut, but behind Garrett Wilson, there's not a whole lot going on as far as pass catchers, so it wouldn't shock me at all to still see Warren as that pick, but I get the reasoning with the Membu pick. Get the offensive line going, run the football, Justin Fields, Braylon Allen, Breece Hall, all those guys that can run the ball, and, well, that's probably what it's going to be for the Jets anyway, and if they're going to run their offense the way the Lions did, well, so be it.
Absolutely. I think day 2, you definitely have to add more pass catchers there at day 2, and I thought if Ted McMillan was there at 7, I probably would have very much thought about that at number 7 overall, but I think in terms of what I think will happen, not in terms of what I would do, I think the Jets are going to be really interested in Armand Membu at number 7 overall. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Carolina at 8 here. Well, with McMillan off the board, I know it's going to be a defensive player because I think that's the one offensive player in this scenario I would think about. There's a lot of options. I mean, Malachi Starks is sitting there at safety. Jahad Campbell is a ton of edge players. I've just had this feeling. I know the league seems to be higher on him than we are, but it feels like Jalen Walker is going to go very high in this draft for the sake of the athleticism, the potential for the versatility. Right now, the Panthers have needs at linebacker. They have needs off the edge. They may even attack the edge later. If they feel like Walker is either a hybrid or is a linebacker, that does give them more options to improve the defensive line later in this draft. We might even go that route in the next couple rounds here. You and I were going over this. There's not as many linebacker options, right? And I know as a pure linebacker, we both think Jahad Campbell is probably better than Jalen Walker right now, but Walker's athleticism pops off the tape. You can do a lot of different things with him. This was the team that turned Frankie Louvu from an edge player into a linebacker and still had him in that kind of hybrid role, so they have some experience with knowing how to do that. I think Jalen Walker is going to go very high. Do I necessarily know that it's going to be 8th overall? No, I think the Panthers have a boatload of options here, but it seems like he's going to go in the top 15 to 20 and possibly as high as this. Plus, he's a Carolina kid, as he was mentioning. His dad coached at Coastal Carolina and a couple other places for a long time. So I'll go with Jalen Walker at 8 to the Panthers.
I think this is the pick I would make as well. Not what I would do personally, but I think this is what's going to happen on draft night. I think Jalen Walker will be the second edge off the board ultimately in the NFL draft. I know Shamar Stewart's gotten a lot of love lately, and we'll get to him obviously very, very soon as well. But I think Jalen Walker, a lot of people are very, very high on this guy. I saw a few guys even say that he's better than Abdul Carter.
I'm not in on that.
Saying that. I was like, I'm not in on that at all. But
I'm not in on that. There's nobody off the edge in this draft better than Abdul Carter.
I know. I don't agree with that either. But I was like, there are some people out there who are really high on Jalen Walker. I'm not personally that high on him. I think he's more of a late first-round pick than anything else, but I think he's going to go ultimately in the top 10 to 15 on draft. So I agree with that reasoning right there. All right, number 9 overall, the New Orleans Saints. So they need a running back, and Ashton Jeanty's here. I'm not going to go there, though, because I think this team's just so far away that you should not be taking a running back in the top 10 when you have a roster like that. With New Orleans, it's got to blow it all up. So instead, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take Tyler Warren there at number 9 overall. I think Tyler Warren would help out the receiving core a lot. I know they got Foster Moreau there and Jawan Johnson. They just re-signed to a contract as well. But you need more in that receiving room. I think that Tyler Warren is a really, really good tight end prospect, and I think he's worthy of being a top 10 pick. And I think New Orleans would be very interested in him at number 9 overall.
Yeah, that's kind of I think it would be a best player available pick if they take Warren. Especially they just gave Johnson, I think it was a 3-year contract, so maybe they believe in what they have. But if he's sitting there at number 9, it's certainly tempting. I think receivers also tempting, anything on defense. But Warren also would help the run blocking for sure. I think where it kind of got stuck for us with the Saints here is with both Campbell and Membu being off the board. I think those are 2 players they would have been really interested in, and I assume if Will Campbell was on the board, that probably would have been your pick there to try to fix up this offensive line further. But they can continue that in the mid-rounds and figure out where it goes there. But I think having Tyler Warren on almost any team in the league with the two-way ability, receiving and blocking, he could help almost anybody.
And I just don't love the fit with Jeanty going to the Saints, especially. I think they're still so far away. So, and also I wanted to help you out there, number 10 overall, because I love this fit here for him.
Yeah, I mean, you already knew where I was going with this. I'm starting to really believe if Ashton Jeanty's on the board at 10, the Bears should just go ahead and do it. You've prepped this offensive line, Tooney, Jackson, and Dahlman all coming in. Ben Johnson's going to want to run the football, right? And I think to take some of that pressure off of Caleb Williams' hands. Now, I know I made this argument with the Raiders at 6 with, okay, there's running back depth, take the receiver and go with it. The Bears don't have as big a need at receiver, I think, for a number 1 guy as the Raiders do, or even, if the Raiders were to go secondary or if Mason Graham was sitting there too, I wouldn't blame them. But the Bears, you look at their offense and you go, okay, running back. Like if they put that special of a guy behind the offensive line that I think with the pieces they've added could be one of the elite units in football next year. We already went over the whole Drew Dahlman bit that I was ranting about for all of free agency. I think this is a moment where you take a player of this special caliber. Ashton Jeanty, I just racked it up yesterday. 325 total missed tackles forced in 3 years.
Jeez.
325 missed tackles forced in 3 years.
God,
I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's of that talent. I think I'm with you. You said this before. He's of the Bijan Robinson talent. He's of the Saquon Barkley talent. He could be that good, and I think for the Bears to get him to complete this offense and take the pressure off of Caleb Williams of having to throw 45 times a game or whatever he was late last year, I think Ben Johnson's going to want him. I think if he's going to get a chance to take Jeanty at 10, he's going to do it.
It feels like this would be almost the last piece of like a complete offensive rebuild for Ben Johnson there in Chicago, which it seems like he wants to do there. And I think Ashton Jeanty, obviously they saw how important the run game was to Detroit. Obviously drafting Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 15 of the draft as well. So that Detroit, Ben Johnson's open to doing that kind of stuff. Also David Montgomery was there as well. They love having kind of a committee. You got Ashton Jeanty there as your number 1 running back, and you can find something else in your committee like DeAndre Swift or something like that, or Rashawn Johnson still. Ashton Jeanty at number 10 overall. I love that. I think that's exactly what they would do if he is on the board at number 10. All right, number 11 overall in this mock draft. Not really a great board that fell here for the 49ers, considering both Will Campbell and Armand Membu are off the board already in the top 10. However, my number one offensive lineman is still available. So that's what I'm going to do here. And Kelvin Banks Jr. I think Kelvin Banks Jr. is still going to be a top 15 pick in the draft. I do think the NFL and most teams are higher on both Campbell and Membu than Banks, but I still think Banks is the best offensive lineman available in this year's draft. He was absolutely dominant against a murderer's row schedule this year at Texas. He was one of the best tackles in America. I think he would fit in perfectly in the outside zone heavy scheme there in San Francisco. So Kelvin Banks Jr. would be a really good right tackle, and maybe even the potential replacement for Trent Williams at left tackle whenever he decides to hang up his cleats. So I think Kelvin Banks Jr., like I said, is the best offensive lineman in the draft, and I think he'd be a really good pick here for 49ers number 11.
Love that. Excellent pass protector, perfect fit in Kyle Shanahan's run scheme. It's a pick I've been thinking about for a long time with them. I think if they end up with either Banks or Membu, they're going to feel really good about it in this first round.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to number 12 with the Cowboys.
A pick I've been making lately for Dallas that I think really fits, because I didn't feel like in free agency that they helped their run defense out very much. Just a lot of minor signings, a lot of guys who, a lot of former first-round picks. I guess that's just the strategy, is just see if we can unlock the talent in them. But I would continue, I think, to attack this linebacker position. Right now, you've got DeMarvion Overshown, who may miss most or all of 2025 here. You've got Maris Liufau. Jack Sanborn came over with Matt Eberflus. They traded for Kenneth Murray, but he hasn't proven to be a starting option. I think this is a spot for a Jihad Campbell to come in and be the middle linebacker that Dallas just does not have right now. One of 4 Power 4 linebackers with an 80-plus grade in run defense and coverage last year. Superb athlete. I think most people think clearly the best linebacker in this draft. I think this is somebody who would actually really improve the middle of the Cowboys defense. And again, they do need some defensive linemen. I'd still like some more help at defensive tackle, maybe even off the edge, some run stoppers, but I can find that later. Linebacker is thinner. I think a chance to get Campbell here at number 12 would be a really good thing for the Cowboys to actually find a solution for their just awful run defense from last year. So I'm taking Jihad Campbell at 12.
Love that. I think Jihad Campbell is a really good player. I think Dallas would be really interested in getting him at a number 12 overall because he needs some help on linebacker. All right, number 13 overall. This is tough now for the Miami Dolphins considering Kelvin Banks Jr. and Armand Membu are off the board here. I'm trying to think what I should do here now. This is pretty interesting.
I have a thought. There's 2 thoughts, I think. There's the obvious offensive line need, which you're kind of stuck without now, unless you wanted to reach for a Josh Simmons or somebody like that.
Yeah, I could do that. I think Will Johnson's on the board here for them. I still think he's going pretty high. I know some of the injury concerns with him, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal with him. So I think he and Malachi Starks are interesting too, considering they just lost Javon Holland in free agency. But I'm gonna go Will Johnson here. I don't think I've seen this before too many times in mock drafts, so I'm gonna go with Will Johnson. I think they really need help at corner. I think they could add another corner to that room, I should say. I think Will Johnson's still a top 15 talent in this draft easily, and he's been a dominant player in really his entire career. His freshman year was outstanding. Sophomore year is still really good. This past year, he's kind of hampered by injuries a little bit, which is why the grades are a little bit lower. But he's still a lockdown cornerback, and I think Miami could stand to improve that secondary after losing Javon Holland, like I said before. I think Will Johnson, number 13 overall. I haven't seen this too often in mock drafts, but I think this would be an option for them.
It's a pick I was also just thinking about. Looking at the Dolphins' cornerback depth behind Jalen Ramsey is not great, especially on the outside. I think he would immediately start for them, and that would be a good pick. I think it's more in consideration because there's been a lot of talk about if they go secondary, maybe they go Malachi Starks, but I think a premier corner would help this team too a lot for a secondary that struggled as a unit, even with Javon Holland in there last year.
Is that what you think about for them at 13?
Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, the more I know we've talked about Starks a lot with them. They signed Ifeatu Melifonu. They signed Ashton Davis. Obviously, those aren't permanent solutions, but I think the lack of depth at corner for me, they need a number 2 corner across from Jalen Ramsey. I think Will Johnson could easily fill that role immediately.
Ramsey's not getting younger either, too, right?
True.
So
true.
You got to be thinking about that, too. So, yeah, I like that a fit for Will Johnson. All right, 14.
14. I'm going to make the trendy pick. I think I know there's still probably some things I could do in the secondary here, but we're going to have some fun with this offense with Shane Steichen in this offense and in a quarterback battle that he says is pretty darn open right now. So we'll see. But either way,
do they add Shedeur Sanders to that mix as well here at number 14, or?
No, they're not going to do that.
You probably would.
I would. I absolutely would. You know me. In that offense, yeah. I'd clear everybody out. You kidding? But anyway, all right. So it's going to be Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson. Either way, Colston Loveland would make either of their lives a lot easier, wouldn't he? I mean, it's the one spot. You know, this Colts team, they didn't have a tight end with 200 receiving yards last year.
Wow.
Nobody even hit 200.
Damn.
So basically, their tight ends last year were non-existent. You go from non-existent to Colston Loveland, who can do so many things in an offense, flexed out from anywhere or in line. That's where I'm going. I think it's the one hole, kind of like the Bears at running back. It's the only hole really on their offense aside from figuring out the quarterback situation. So give me Loveland at 14 to the Colts.
Love that. All right, number 15 overall here with the Atlanta Falcons. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go edge rusher. I'm just trying to think of what edge specifically there's going to take.
I mean, I think it's probably down to two guys.
Shamar Stewart is one of them?
No.
That's what I'm looking at.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I think Raheem likes his stand-up guys. I was
looking at Mike Green, too.
I think it's Green or Pierce.
I don't think Pierce is not going this high.
He likes the stand-up two-point guys.
I don't. More I think about it, I love Pierce, and I would take him this high. I don't think he's going to go this high. I'll go with Mike Green. Yeah, I think Mike Green is probably going to go higher than James Pierce Jr. I have Pierce higher in my personal big board. I think he's in the number 2 edge in this draft, but I think Mike Green's going to go over him on draft night. And I have no problem with that, honestly. Mike Green's been a really good player at Marshall each of the last 2 years. 90-plus PFF grades in each of the last 2 years. 91.4 pass rush grade last year, and a 90.2 run defense grade. The only edge in America with 90-plus grades in both. Obviously, some off-field issues that you got to check out with him, but there's no doubt about it. He's a very, very good football player. And as a stand-up rusher, like you said, in Atlanta's scheme, it makes a lot of sense. So I think Mike Green would be a logical pick here for the Falcons at 15.
Absolutely. They were the second worst pass rushing team in the league last year, and he would certainly help that cause. And again, the pick for me there is Green because Raheem Morris likes those 2-point stand-up edge rushers, those outside linebackers, and that's exactly what Green is. He does it as well as anybody other than maybe Abdul Carter in this draft. So I think that's the right pick to jumpstart their pass rush.
All right, number 16 with the Cardinals.
Fun pick. I was looking at this for my mock draft that's actually out on PFF.com. Defensive line is a possibility. I also think outside corner is a possibility. And a fun stat that I found, and Jonathan Gannon likes to run a lot of zone coverage, a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4. Cardinals outside cornerbacks, right? I'm taking Syracuse legend Garrett Williams out of this in the slot. Cardinals outside cornerbacks had the lowest zone coverage grade in the league last year. Jahdae Barron from Texas had the highest zone coverage grade of any corner in college football last year, even better than Travis Hunter. I'm going with Jahdae Barron. Let's help us out on the outside in the secondary, start rounding that into form. I know they need help in the trenches. If for any reason Armand Membu were on the board here at 16, which I don't think he will be, that's probably where I would go. Otherwise, let's keep working on Jonathan Gannon's defense. I really like Barron as a fit in this defense on the outside. Leave Garrett Williams in the slot. Drafted, Elijah Jones last year. You've got some other options. You still have Sean Murphy Bunting. I think Barron would be a really nice fit in the secondary for how he gets downhill in zone coverage.
I love that. Yeah, Jahdae Barron is one of the best corners in this year's draft. I thought he was the best corner in college football this past season. So it makes a lot of sense for him to go to Arizona there. Cincinnati, number 17 here. This is where I'm going to take Shamar Stewart. Yep. I think they're looking I think Trey Anderson's going to be brought back in Cincinnati, but even so, they still need to find another replacement for Sam Hubbard at the other edge spot. And with Trey Henderson being one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, they need to improve their run defense. And Shamar Stewart at least gives you a pretty good floor in run defense as he develops as a pass rusher. And obviously he's the freakiest athlete that we have at the edge position in this year's draft, and one of the freakiest athletes in general in this year's draft as well. So I think he's going to go probably somewhere in the top 20, top 15 maybe even as well. And I think at number 17 overall makes sense here for Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it especially for the Bengals who need to now use very, very limited cap resources to fix their defense. They're going to have to build it through the draft. I think they're the type of team that Shamar Stewart, we can both admit, is a home run swing, right? Yeah. If that works, he could be one of the best players in this draft, considering the combine, the athleticism, everything he has, the perfect build. The Bengals are the type of team that needs to take a swing on the potential, right, to raise the floor, especially of this defense, really raise the ceiling of this defense. They're just not going to get anywhere unless this defense gets significantly better, no matter how long they have Burrow and Chase and Higgins and all that. This defense needs a home run swing. I think Stewart would be a really good complement, even early on for his floor and run defense, because Hendrickson isn't the elite run defender. He's obviously the pass rusher between the two of them. I think Stewart helps their run defense a lot off the edge.
All right, number 18 overall with the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm in between here. I'm in between here. Because I could go edge, I could go interior. I still like the idea of taking a receiver here. It feels like Luther Burden's not going to go this early. Is that?
No, I think he might fall to the second round at this point.
That's something.
Which is I don't agree with at all, but I think that's what's probably going to happen.
I think wide receiver, I think somebody who can try to get vertical in this offense still makes a lot of sense. I think for the sake of the predictive nature of what we're trying to do here, it seems like Matt Golden is now higher on a lot of boards than Luther Burden. I'm going to go receiver early here for the Seahawks, and I'll worry about the trenches in rounds 2 and 3. I'll go Matt Golden.
All right.
Give them another vertical threat. Obviously, they've got MVS, they've got Cooper Kupp, they've got Smith and Jigba, but Valdez-Scantling's been inconsistent throughout his career. He's there because he's familiar with Clint Kubiak last year with the Saints. I think Golden, with that 4-2 speed, with the route running, gives them a vertical threat that allows them to run everything in Kubiak's offense with the play action, with the deep shots. I think receiver early makes sense. They need interior offensive line, but where they're picking on day 2 in the 50s, 80s, 90s, they got 4 picks on day 2, and I'll certainly get into interior offensive line there. That's a sweet spot for it. I think receiver makes sense here for Seattle.
Yeah, you definitely want to find another vertical weapon in that receiving core. You got Cooper Kupp there, you got Jackson Smith and Jigba there. Matthew Golden with his 4.29 speed would give that vertical threat for them. Number 19 overall, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Jahad Campbell is on the board here because that was a guy I was kind of targeting with him at number 19 overall. Instead, what I'll do is I'll go with a Georgia player in Mykel Williams. I think Mykel Williams is going to be somewhere in the top 15 to 20 on draft night, and Tampa Bay could still stand to improve an edge rusher. Again, this is what we think will happen on draft night, not what we think we would do as general managers. I think Mykel Williams is going to go somewhere around this range on draft night, and with Tampa Bay needing help at edge rusher, I think Mykel Williams will provide that. He's a really good run defender, still developing as a pass rusher, but like Shamar Stewart in a lot of ways, he's a very athletic player. I think Tampa Bay would take the swing here at number 19.
Yeah, I almost thought about him at 18. I think he'd be a good fit in Mike McDonald's defense too. But yeah, Tampa, they need some help off the edge. I think to take a premier talent like that, they got to work on the pass rush arsenal. He's going to give him a really good run defender. You know, Todd Bowles loves to defend the run. I think obviously there's other guys here would be in consideration, maybe James Pierce, maybe Donovan Ezeraku, but certainly a team is going to take a chance on Mykel Williams early, especially, again, for the versatility and run defense. It'll help anybody immediately. It's just a matter of how much do you get out of him as a pass rusher.
All right, definitely. Number 20 overall here, the Denver Broncos.
I've been kind of loosening up to the idea here. I know we've talked about matchup problems and jokers and everything Sean Payton's been saying, but this team is missing a workhorse back. Right now, they have Jaleel McLaughlin, who's obviously a smaller scat back type, and Audric Estime, who didn't do a whole lot last year. But, I'm kind of loosening up to the idea that this could be a Marion Hampton. I think to have that big-time back, the Broncos were near the bottom of the league in yards after contact from the running backs last year, despite having a really good offensive line that cleared a lot of space for him. Marion Hampton, the last, 2 years, second behind Ashton Jeanty in yards after contact. He's a workhorse. I think somebody like McLaughlin's a really good pass-catching complementary back to him, but they just don't have that number one back right now. And if they don't believe that maybe Luther Burden is the guy that they want, if they want to keep looking for mismatch problems, I think tight end on day 2 here might still be an option. I think Hampton might be really on the table here for Denver at 20. I think Sean Payton needs that workhorse back to add balance to his offense.
Love it. Yeah, Marion Hampton, I think, is going to be going somewhere in the first round draft. And I think we'll get 2 running backs going in the first round with him and obviously Ashton Jeanty as well. So Denver's still looking for more weapons for Bo Nix in that offense. I think Marion Hampton would fit that billing, absolutely. At number 21 overall, this would be a dream pick for Pittsburgh if they stick here at number 21, and that is taking Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado. So I think Shedeur Sanders is worthy of being a top 5 to top 10 pick in this year's draft, but with the Giants not taking him at 3, you could see a little bit of a free fall for Shedeur Sanders. And I think here at 21, that free fall would stop here for Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh's quarterback room is Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Now, it's pretty likely, I think, that Aaron Rodgers probably will be on the Steelers next year. He was actually working out with DK Metcalf recently, so that might be a little sign of what's to come. But I still think even with Aaron Rodgers, if he signs with the Steelers, I still think that Shedeur Sanders should be on the board here for them at number 21 overall. And even if he doesn't sign too, because I think there's a lot of rumors that he might sit out a year, he might retire, he might go to the Vikings, kind of complete the whole Brett Favre career arc as well. So I think Shedeur Sanders here, and I think Mike Tomlin and Shedeur Sanders would be a good complement with each other. So I think Shedeur Sanders would be a perfect fit for the Steelers.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think that would be the dream. And to do it here, we're not doing any trades today, but to do it without trading up would really be.
I would trade up if I was the Steelers.
I agree. If he got by the Saints at 9 or somewhere in that range, I don't see a whole lot of teams in the teens that would take him. So maybe they could try to wait, but I don't think I would wait that long, right? If that opportunity came available, I think as their depth chart is right this minute, he would start.
Definitely.
He would start, and I think he could have some success as long as they protect him. That offensive tackle spot still worries me, but they're trying to put it together, and I think Shedeur, I don't think you could ask for a whole lot more than the Steelers getting him at 21 here.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 22, the Chargers.
I'm leaning on D-line here. I'm leaning on defensive line, I think. Because I know I could go receiver, Burden. Do we think Burden would go here? Well, see, the tough part with Burden, he ran 80% of his routes from the slot last year. So and I know McConkey's not purely a slot guy. He can play outside. But do we want to mess with that? We don't have Loveland on the board.
In a predictive mock, I don't think Burden goes as high, which is I would disagree with again, but I just don't know if he goes as high.
Then I have some thoughts on that early in the second round. Then I think we'll keep the Michigan thing going. We'll go with Kenneth Grant.
Yeah,
we'll go with Kenneth Grant as the Puna Ford replacement. Keep going, keep getting physical, stay physical up front for the Chargers. Keep the run defense going like it was last year with Ford, Taylor, Tart stayed, Khalil Mack stayed. I could go with an edge player here too. I think somebody like even Donovan Ezeraku would make some sense here. But I'll go with the big run stopper that Jim Harbaugh's already familiar with, Kenneth Grant.
All right. I like that pick a lot. And he actually called Kenneth Grant when he was back in Michigan God's gift to football. So we know that Jim Harbaugh is a fan of Kenneth Grant. So I think that make a lot of sense there. Number 22 overall. Number 23 overall with the Green Bay Packers. This is always a really hard one to make a pick for, honestly. But with Matthew Golden off the board here, I'm kind of looking to the defense. Jahdae Barron is gone as well as Will Johnson, so I'm not really looking at cornerback right now. So I'm thinking more along the defensive line. I think what I'm going to do is take James Pierce Jr., the edge from Tennessee. He's my number 2 edge in the draft. I think he is top 10 to 15 talent in this draft, and I would take him a lot higher. Like I would take him to Cincinnati, number 17 overall. I'd take him to the Buccaneers, number 19 overall. For any team that looks for edge rush, I'd take him to Atlanta, number 15 overall. But I think the NFL in a predictive mock draft, I think the NFL is a little lower on James Pierce Jr. So I think he's going to go more in the top 25 range rather than top 15 range. So here at 23 to the Packers is where I think around where he'd go. And with the board kind of falling this way, no really receivers I'm really excited about taking, or receivers I don't think will go this high, I should say, at number 23. I think Pierce would be an option for Green Bay at number 23.
I'm just, the only thing I'm curious on is would he do it over, would Jeff Hafley do it over Donovan Ezeraku with the, just because he knows them well, would he do it over?
I think he's going over Ezeraku. I think he's going over Ezeraku, which is why I kind of picked that, but I could see that being an option too.
It's just the Green Bay thing gets me churning with that, where I'm just like, I'm still thinking about if that were the choice with this pick, I'm like, would they lean into Ezeraku just because of Jeff Hafley?
Yep. I think it's an option, and I think that's definitely a good argument for that. But in terms of what I think is going to happen on draft night, I think Pierce will go over Ezeraku.
Reasonable.
So.
All right, go for it. It's your pick, James Pierce Jr.
All right, number 24, Vikings.
All right, I'm between two guys, and I think I'm leaning one because he's a little bit higher on the board. I think to me in this scenario, if they don't trade down, because we're not doing trades, and the Vikings are a prime trade down team because they don't pick again, as you see on the screen there, until 97. For me, it's either here right now, it's either Malachi Starks or it's Walter Nolan. I think I'm going to go Starks to start alongside Harrison Smith. I think it's a great fit. He gives him a lot. He gives Brian Flores a lot of flexibility. His defense can play deep, can play in the slot, can play in the box, and play wherever you want him. I'm going to go with Starks here. I think it'd be a great fit in Minnesota. I think it's a great value here. He's the 9th ranked player on our board. I think he's the best safety in this draft. Walter Nolan, if Starks was on the board, Walter Nolan or if Kenneth Grant was here would be a consideration for me too here, because I do think they need one more run-stopping defensive tackle. I know they added some pass rush pieces in free agency, but I think Starks would be a great value here for the Vikings if they don't trade down and if he were on the board.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a pick that I like a lot too. I think Malachi Starks is, again, like a top 15 talent in this draft. I think he's going to go a little bit lower on draft night, but he is the most versatile safety, like you said, in the draft. He can play in the cover, in slot. He can play free safety. He can play in the box. He is a very, very talented safety. So I think at number 24 overall, the Vikings, I've seen that mocked a lot now recently, and I think that makes a lot of sense for Minnesota there. So number 25 overall, the Houston Texans. I think they got support C.J. Stroud, whether it be in their receiving core or along the offensive line. I personally would go with Luther Burden here at number 25 overall, but like I said, I think the NFL is starting to fall a little bit lower on Luther Burden. So I'm going to go with Josh Simmons here. This is a pick I've seen a lot in mock drafts. I think it makes sense as well. You traded away Laramie Tunsil. Josh Simmons is kind of a home run swing, I think, at left tackle, but if he hits, he has all the athletic potential to be a franchise left tackle, which is now what Houston's kind of looking for trading away Laramie Tunsil. So I think Josh Simmons is going to protect another Ohio State player in C.J. Stroud. That makes some sense here for Houston.
Yeah, I think it's a much harder decision than people think with the Texans, and I know their offensive line's a big concern, but interior offensive line is also very much a possibility on day 2, right? and they do have a need at receiver, and I think they have a need at D tackle. I think that's a pick where, again, Walter Nolan would very, very much be on the board. I think he would help their run defense a lot. Their interior run defense is not good. Again, every mock is putting an offensive lineman, a lot of them, Josh Simmons, to the Texans right now. I don't think it's as guaranteed as we think. I really don't. I think with some other talented players at spots that they also need, that's not the only flaw in their team right now. I do think that decision for me is a lot harder than, again, everybody just mocking, okay, just take the offensive lineman, just do it, just to do it. I'm like, that's a dangerous game you're playing when sometimes there's more talented players on the board. I think I would consider Nolan. I would highly consider Burden. Even Emeka Ibuka, I think, would help them a lot as a compliment to Collins. So I think the Texans have a hard decision there at 25.
I do too. Again, like I said, in a predictive mock draft, I think Simmons is going over all those players. So that's why I took him there to the Texans.
Reasonable. All right, the Rams at 26. This is actually a hard one because their needs don't necessarily fit with the players that are high on the board here. I think about corners. I think about this second tier of corners, and I look at this three guys I'm looking at when you look at Trey Amos, Maxwell Hairston, Siobhan Revelle. And I think, to me, Amos and Revelle are more man-to-man guys, and the Rams don't run a ton of man-to-man coverage. And Hairston is a guy, despite maybe some off-field issues that we have seen, get mocked into the first round at times. I think if there were a defense that he was going to fit in, it would be a defense like the Rams. It's a heavy off-zone coverage team, right? They need help. To me, the two spots are at corner and at linebacker. There's not another linebacker outside of Campbell that I would take in the first round. I think I could wait on that and see what we get on day 2 here for the Rams. Maybe, they're not picking until 90 and 101, but we'll see what kind of players show up there at linebacker for them. I'm going to go with Maxwell Hairston here, I think, to improve at corner, get his zone corner in there. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of athletic talent. I think it's a system that he could play in and succeed.
I like that. Yeah, Maxwell Hairston. Again, I'm a little lower on him, but you're right. I think he's going to go somewhere in the top 35-ish on draft night, and I think that's just absolutely a possibility for him at number 26 overall. Number 27 overall, the Baltimore Ravens. I'm looking at Tyler Booker here.
This is the spot where I've really been looking at Booker.
Yeah, I think I do.
I think if he goes in the first round, it's in this range, and this has really been the spot. Because they didn't replace Makari at all at left tackle. I don't know that they really trust Andrew Voorhees to start in there.
No, neither do I. I'm going to go with Tyler Booker. I was looking at some edges like Donovan Ezeraku there as well, I think Tyler Booker would be the pick here for them. And I think he kind of fits their downhill running scheme. If they're looking for the gap run scheme, they do a lot in Baltimore. I think, he's a guy that can help out a lot in pass protection. As you can see by his pass blocking grades, he's a very, very good pass blocker. I think Tyler Booker is probably going to go somewhere in the first round, late first round, and I think if he does, this is the most likely landing spot for him. So I'm going to go with Tyler Booker to the Ravens.
Agreed. I think it's the first team. Not the first team, but I think it's the one to me that seems to make the most sense. Yeah. Right. If you're going to take a first round pick with Booker, I think the Ravens should just plug and play left tackle, Stanley, Booker, Linderbaum. That makes a boatload of sense there. Detroit at 28. You made it easy. Not taking Ezeraku. That's where I'm going for the Lions. Look, they need pass rush help. They were a bottom, I think, 5 or 6 pass rush team after Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. They still, even with Hutchinson healthy, need some depth in there. And I think if you're looking at a defensive line that has Hutchinson, Reeder, McNeil back from injury, Ezeraku, Owuzurike, Marcus Davenport, that's the pass rush that I need to get going. He, honestly, even if they don't believe in him on early downs or they want to go with other options, when he gets hot in obvious passing situations, look out. And I think it's a great compliment to Aiden Hutchinson. I think one of the premier edge defenders in this draft at 28 is the ideal situation for the Lions. Let it rip.
Love it. All right, number 29 overall with the Washington Commanders. Ooh, he took Ezeraku away from me. I was kind of looking at him for
I'm
Washington.
Sure I think, who we haven't gotten off the board yet is Eamon Worry.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn might like him and
around
the box there. That might be a thing.
Looking at him.
I don't know if there's another edge rusher like a Scorton you might like.
I think Eman Ward's going over him. Yeah, I'm with. I kind of like that call out because that's what I was looking at too. I was looking at Nick Scorton, but I think he's going to go a little bit lower. I think he's probably going to be a second round pick if I had to predict right now. So, yeah, I kind of like the...
He likes those hybrid, hard-hitting big safeties. Dan Quinn likes those kind of guys. And Eamon Worry, it's a pick that, sometimes in the middle of the first round here, I kind of forget because someone could take the athletic talent, but I think Dan Quinn would like him a lot.
Yeah. No, I like that. So I like Nick Eamon Worry going to Washington. I think it's going to improve the defense some way because that's really was the bane of their existence last year was the defense. I think Nick Worry, as the most athletic safety in the draft, the best box safety in the draft as well, I think he would be definitely an option for Dan Quinn. And like I said, he would love him in that kind of defense. Maybe like a Cam Chancellor type of role in Washington. So, yeah, I think Nick Worry would make a lot of sense there at 29.
Reasonable. Buffalo at 30. I need talent. I need talent at many, many spots on defense. I don't love, say, the corners like Amos and Ravel. I just don't love them as necessarily a fit with Sean McDermott. I think I could find maybe something on day 2 that would fit in a little bit better. I'm going to go Walter Nolan here. I think especially, look, they signed a bunch of defensive linemen in free agency, some veteran guys. 2 of them are suspended for the first 6 games, so that doesn't help me. But they just at that defensive tackle spot, they need a big-time run defender, and Nolan has started to show his pass rush upside too. I think you're getting a really talented player here. If you get Nolan to fall to 30 to the Bills, that's someone who could really change the look of their defensive line.
Love that. Yeah, I think Walter Nolan is a phenomenal player. He actually was going to be my pick at number 31 overall if you pass on him there at number 30. Instead, I'll go with another D-tackle 31, and that is Derek Harmon from Oregon. I think he'll be a late first-round pick too if I had to predict right now. And I think he, alongside Chris Jones, they kind of need to find someone to replace, to be alongside Chris Jones in that defensive line. And I think Derek Harmon's probably going to be a first-round pick on draft night. I think that would be an ideal fit for their Kansas City.
Reasonable. And you know what? You made my pick for the Eagles here easy because I was between Harmon and Nick Scorton. Essentially the choice of, am I replacing Milton Williams or am I replacing Josh Sweat? I think both of those players, obviously could do the job when it comes to replacing either one of those guys. You took Harmon at 31. I'm going Scorton at 32. I think he's somebody who can, he doesn't, with the amount of depth the Eagles have on the defensive line, he doesn't necessarily have to play every single snap. They can work him in easy. They always have defensive line depth, offensive line depth as well. I think Scorton as a stand-up edge rusher to replace Josh Sweat is a really nice pick at 32.
Love that. All right, that wraps up the first round of our mock draft. But like you said before, we're doing a 3-round mock draft for you guys. So don't go anywhere because we've got 2 more rounds of picks to make in this mock draft. Before we get to rounds 2 and round 3 of this mock draft, we've got to talk about the sponsor of the show. That is Fabric by Gerber Life. What does your child's future success look to you? A job they're passionate about, traveling around the world, or just being happy and comfortable? Whatever their journey, you can help make it easier to achieve with a kid's investment account from Fabric by Gerber Life. By making a contribution to your child's future today, you can help give them the means to pursue their dreams, big and small. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a kid's investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids can't invest when they're minors, but a kid's investment account allows you to invest on their behalf now, giving their investments more time to grow. It's all online, and setting up an account can take you just 5 minutes. Then you can manage your child's account and monitor their investments right from your phone. Start with just $20 with no contribution limits, tax advantages, and your funds are SIPC insured up to $500,000. Plus, no commission fees and just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. Portfolios managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right. Second round of the mock draft now that we're starting off with the Cleveland Browns at number 33 overall. And I am in a pickle here, Dalton.
You need a quarterback.
I need a quarterback. Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka are also here as well, and they could use help at receiver. So you took Abdul Carter for them in the second overall pick. But I think they're going to go after a quarterback. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart is going to be on the board for Cleveland at number 33 overall. Seems like the NFL is really high on him. I actually think Jackson Dart might sneak into the first round at one of those final picks as well. But with him on the board here, I think this is who Cleveland might be looking at to help out their quarterback room. The Deshaun Watson era in Cleveland is going to be over. Kenny Pickett is currently their starting quarterback as Deshaun Watson retore his Achilles, so we won't be playing next year. I think Jackson Dart will be definitely an option for them at number 33 overall. So I'm going to go Jackson Dart here.
I think it's reasonable that it could happen. The Browns, they're really backed into a corner. This is the problem, is they have Kenny Pickett. I mean, they didn't get Russell Wilson. They didn't get another veteran. It's tough right now, and it's going to be tough, especially to convince the fan base. Sorry, Tyler, that Kenny Pickett's going to start week 1. It feels like one way or the other they have to come out of this draft with somebody at quarterback who can compete with Pickett for that starting job. So I get it. I totally get it. I mean, I know, again, you hate to draft, especially at a premier pick like either 2 or like 33, to feel like you're backed into a corner, but that's where we're at now, and I think the Browns, especially with the night to sleep on it, to really think about it if Dart were on the board. I agree. It's very much a possibility.
All right, number 34 overall, Giants.
I'm thinking a run stopper here. Somebody put next to Dexter Lawrence on the D-line. After he got hurt, their defensive tackle situation just completely fell apart. I'm going to go with Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. I think if nothing else, I know we feel like the pass rush has kind of dropped off for him as his time went on at Ohio State, but he's a really good run defender, 3-tech, 1-tech, however you want to put him in that 4-man front. And you had Tyleik at least on early downs, along with Lawrence and Burns and Thibodeau. I think you really got now a complete defensive line. And look, I love Dexter Lawrence, arguably the best defensive tackle in football some days, but it needs help up there, right? And I think Tyleik is a run stopper. I think that would help them a lot. They fix the secondary in free agency. You get one more run plugger on this defensive line up front. The Giants' defense actually starts to look pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think Tyleik Williams is obviously one of the best run defending D tackles that we have in this year's draft. So I think he absolutely is an option there for New York there at that pick. So I got Tennessee up next.
I think this is simple.
Really?
Pull the trigger. I think it's real simple.
Yeah, I think so too. I with him on the board still, I can't seem to pass him on. I'm taking Luther Burden III here to Tennessee. I think this is around the range where he'd go. I think you just drafted Cam Ward number 1 overall. Get Cam Ward potentially his new number 1 receiver, and Luther Burden III as well. So I think Luther Burden III would be who I'm going with here.
I think you could do worse starting out with Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley, Luther Burden.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of complementary things you like in there. I think Burden, especially with the way he can make plays after the catch, allow Ridley to be the downfield route runner. Burden can get vertical too. I really like this a lot. I think if Burden were to fall here and the Titans were to get a talent like that, because they lost Nick Westbrook-Ikini, their receiver room right now is Calvin Ridley and not much else.
Yeah.
So I think to get Burden in there at this spot, it was something I even had in my mock draft this morning. I had the Titans trading up a few spots into the first round to get Burden because he was still available. I'm a big fan of this. I think you get Cam Ward, another target, you really start to build around him. I'm in on that.
All right, number 36 overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
36, the Jags. This is a fun one, actually, because let's see. We went Mason Graham first, right? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Beautiful. Ooh. Actually, I think I have the idea here.
What's their interior look like right now?
It's Robert Hainsey. It's Patrick McCarry. They filled it with some veteran guys.
Okay, I was like, Gray Zabel is still on the board here. That would have been an interesting one.
That would have been a fun one. I think it's certainly a possibility. I'm looking at a depth chart real quick for the Jags. Oh, yeah, there's a player I like here. Yep. Their corner situation's a little funky with Jerrion Jones and Jordan Lewis, but I'm not going that direction. Let me get Xavier Watts at safety.
Ooh,
I think I'm going there. I think to get a true free safety on this team, to be the backbone of a secondary that they're trying to build on the outside. Again, they got Jordan Lewis, Jerrion Jones, a good slot player from last year. Tyson Campbell, we've seen really good work from in the past. I'm going Xavier Watts here. I think they need that center fielder in this defense. You start to fill out this secondary with talent, a secondary that struggled really badly last year. But again, they lost. That's another one. They lost the guy they had playing center field for him last year, Andre Sisco. He's with the Jets now. I think you replace him with Watts in the second round. I really like this pick for Jacksonville.
Yeah, I like that a lot as well. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for Jacksonville. So Xavier Watts going there to the Jaguars. Next up is the Las Vegas Raiders here.
You doing it, Chip?
Taking one of the running backs now.
Are you doing it? I mean, you certainly could. I mean, you're picking at 68 also.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there too. Let me see the corner situation for them.
Trey Amos,
Siobhan Ravel still here too.
What does it feel like Pete Carroll would like Siobhan Ravel?
I was just thinking about the same thing. Yeah, because they had the lowest coverage grade in the NFL this last year, right? The lowest coverage grade the last few years, too.
Yeah, it's like in 4 or 5 years. It was the worst.
They need help in that secondary. I think Siobhan Ravel would be an option.
You know he likes those bigger corners.
Yeah, he absolutely does. So I think with a number 68 overall pick, there's still time to get a running back. Like I said, in a very, very deep running back class 2. I don't know if there's many corners after Siobhan Ravel that you get really excited about for Las Vegas. So I think I'm going Siobhan Ravel here for the Raiders.
Tell you what, McMillan and Ravel's going to make for some fun practice reps, isn't it? Just like when they used to have Tacario Davis there at Arizona, too. You always talked about that. That's a practice tape right there. How about it?
Yeah.
All right, you went Campbell. Wait, we went Campbell at number
you
4.
went Campbell.
I went.
Whoever
Whoever did it. It's already been a long time.
You got 3 more picks here for Patriots too.
I do. You know what? I think for the value of it, it's 2 guys I'm thinking about here. And they're both from Ohio State. I think for the value of it, I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka here.
Okay.
I think I'm going to do it. I think you just keep adding talent. Keep adding talent to this receiver room. I mean, it was tough last year with Jalen Polk having a tough rookie year. Javon Baker really didn't get on the field much. I know there's Kendrick Bourne. They just signed Stephon Diggs, but they need talent. And I think Mike Vrabel's not tied to any of those other guys other than obviously Diggs, who they just signed. If Egbuka can be an upgrade on all those other guys, then so be it. I think, again, it was really tough to see last year the lack of development from the receiving core. And I think the more you can add competition and weapons to that team, I think eventually it's going to happen in this draft anyway. But Egbuka, I think, is a guy who should be a first-round pick, depending on the fit and the team he goes to. Very well could be. To get him here at 38, I don't mind it at all.
No, I don't mind it either. All right. 39 overall with the Chicago Bears. I got a couple options here.
You do. There's one. Actually, there's one I'm looking at first that I think I would. Well, there's a couple.
I would say there's a few. Because I'm trying to look at D tackle.
Yep.
Edge rusher.
Yep.
And I think even with Josh Connerly here too, man. I don't hate that. I know they have Braxton Jones too. All right, I'm gonna start on the defense because I think that's what they need more. So I'm gonna look at D tackle and edge. I'm gonna go with Darius Alexander.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do. Start off with the Chicago Bears. I think they need help with D tackles. I think who fills that.
Reasonable. Like it. Good run stopper, athletic guy. I think he could help them a lot. Their defensive tackles weren't great in run defense last year. The Saints at 40. You went offense. You went Tyler Warren the first time around. I think I'm going to go in the trenches. Actually, I think you just mentioned it for the value of it. I think I'm going Josh Connerly here.
Okay.
Either tackle spot, if we're moving Penning inside, if it's Fuaga over to the right side, I think Josh Connerly could find a way to start for them even as a second-round pick. I'll go with Connerly from Oregon.
Love it. All right, I'm going next up here with the Bears. I think I'm going to stick on the defensive line and go with...
Oh, you're going to double up.
I'm going to double up.
Okay.
I'm going to go D-tackle, and I'm going to go with edge. So I'm going to go with... Let's go with actually, I think Landon Jackson might be an option for them.
You're going full tilt run defense. I like it.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Both picks, you're going run defense for the Bears. I don't hate it at all. They need
help on run defense. I'm going to go Landon Jackson here for the Bears.
I'm all for that. I like that a lot. I do. I think now you talk about the Bears getting better in the trenches, plus getting Ashton Jeanty. That's some offseason right there.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. And that's the luxury if you want to trade up or if you want to stick of having 39 and 41, you can make picks like that. That's great stuff.
All right, next up, the Jets.
The Jets.
Your Jets.
We went Membu, offensive tackle. I already mentioned once that they lack pass catchers. I think that's incredibly obvious. I think they just signed Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard. Don't love it. I'm going to go with the stat that I had mentioned last week about the Jets being last in the league in intermediate receiving grade. Jaden Higgins led college football in intermediate receiving grade, perfect 99.9. I'm going to go Jaden Higgins as a guy I think he fits in with the Jets pretty well, and I know they already have one Iowa State receiver they're trying to either pay cut or get rid of, but I think Higgins just adds more talent to this room that really needs it beyond Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. I love that a lot. I think Jay Higgins is a really, really good player, so I like that fit a lot for him there. All right, next up we got the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh, this one I want to do. Can I throw it in there?
Huh.
I think Demetrius Knight would be the perfect fit alongside Fred Warner as the Greenlaw replacement.
Yeah.
I think it's that weak side guy who did a lot of the same things that Greenlaw did. I think that would really be a nice fit. I think that would be a nice fit here.
I just don't think he's going this high, so I'm not going to take him here. I think he's more of a third-round pick than a second-round pick.
If he got to them at 75, we'd be living.
That's what I'm thinking, too. I think corner is where I'm more looking at here, and I'm between Trey Amos and Ben Morrison right now.
You taking the injury gamble on Morrison? That's the only thing.
That's the only thing.
I love him, but if you're taking...
No, this is where I think he'd go, though. So I think I'm I'm going to go Trey Amos for now. I'm going to go Trey Amos. I think he's going to go higher than Ben Morrison. I like Ben Morrison more, but I think Trey Amos is a really good player as well, and I think they need help in that secondary. So I'm going to go with Trey Amos to the 49ers.
You could do worse than Trey Amos and Renardo Green. You could do a lot worse than that. I don't hate that. All right, Cowboys. I went Campbell. I'm not going linebacker here. I think I'm actually going to help out CeeDee Lamb here. I'm going to go with Alec Iamaner to the Cowboys. Add some size, get a true X receiver in there. I think Iamaner can do a lot of things for you. He's also a really good blocker in the run game. That can help. Running back also would certainly be a consideration, I think more so on day 2 than it was before for the Cowboys. But I'll get another receiver in there to complement CeeDee Lamb, get some more action going on the outside. And I think CeeDee and Dak played their best when they had Brandon Cooks as an effective player on the outside. He's obviously gone to New Orleans now. I think there's a little bit of a hole because they don't have much size and they don't have that true X in their offense right now. Give me Iamaner to Dallas.
Love it. All right, next up we got the Indianapolis Colts. And Gray Zable's just still staring me in the face here. I don't know how much they need him, though, was a problem.
You could go with an edge player. You could go in the secondary if there was somebody in the secondary. Like, I know I kind of took Xavier Watts off the table here.
That's what I was looking if he was going to last. But, damn it.
Oh, Darian Porter.
Darian Porter could be good.
That could be a thing in Anarumo's defense.
Yeah.
Demetrius Knight also here. They lost EJ Speed, left in free agency. They're kind of thin at linebacker.
I'm going to go with Carson Schwessinger, actually, instead.
I think
he's going over Demetrius Knight. So I'm going to go with Carson Schwessinger.
I don't hate that either. I cannot hate that either. I have no issue with that at all. I think linebacker is quietly a need for them.
All right, Atlanta, 46.
You went off the edge. You went Mike Green first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Falcons. You went Mike Green first. Actually, this is one where I'm going to go with Darian Porter. Heavy zone coverage. One of the highest graded zone coverage players in the nation last year. I think Jahdae Barron, for the same reason, would have been a fit here in the first round. I'll go with Darian Porter. He's got a freakish build. He's got freakish speed. He's really good in zone coverage. Raheem Morris gets in a lot of zone coverage, and I think for the first 2 picks for the Falcons to come out of here with an edge player and with a corner, I think that's successful. Those are the 2 biggest needs on this team. I think it helps their defense a lot.
Yep, definitely. All right, I like that a lot. Let's go next to the Arizona Cardinals here. We took Jahdae Barron in the first round, so we didn't take a D lineman. I'm going to fix that here. Question is, what are they? You know what? Let's go with Alfred Collins.
We're stopping the run here.
Yeah,
I love Alfred Collins.
Let's double up on Texas here for Arizona. I think Alfred Collins is going to go in the second round. I think Alfred Collins is a phenomenal football player. Kind of got lost in the shuffle in 2023 behind Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, but he was great this past year with an 87 PFF grade. Really, really good run defender as well. I think Alfred Collins would kind of fill a need there at D tackle for Arizona.
That's a good call, actually. I don't mind that at all. I mean, for a team trying to fix their run defense and Collins, all the alignments he can get in, I love that.
What about 48 overall here, the Dolphins? There's a guy at the top of the board right now, Dalton, that's staring in the face.
He is. The question is, are we assuming we're good with Patrick Paul at left tackle?
Yeah, you're not good with Liam Eichenberg at left guard.
That's true. The other guy I thought about here is Ariante Ursary. If we want the tackle instead. If we feel good about Patrick Paul, then I'm with you on this.
Yeah.
Even though it's a guy I would really love to get to Seattle at 50, and there might be a trade-up thing in there. But those are the 2 I'm between. If we trust Patrick Paul, then Gray Zabel, plug him in at left guard, let it ride in between there. And we'll do that. And I think I like the system fit there with Mike McDaniel. Zabel's really athletic and versatile. And, I know some people are going to view him as a center, but they already have Aaron Brewer, who they like as a fit there. So I'll take Zabel. We'll go with that. We're good with Patrick Paul. We couldn't get a tackle in the first round. We're pretty much going to have to be good with Patrick Paul at this point. So Paul at left tackle, Zabel at left guard. Let it ride.
All right, love it. Cincinnati here next up. We already took an edge rusher for them.
You could think about Knight here also.
Yeah.
We're assuming, I don't know if it's officially happened yet, but we're assuming Jermaine Pratt is gone. You need somebody next to Logan Wilson. I know they got Oren Burks, but that's on really backup money.
Mm-hmm.
Demetrius Knight would make some sense.
Let me just look through who's available real quick.
Xavier Restrepo would be fun, too.
Xavier Restrepo would be fun. I don't know if he's going this high anymore, though, unfortunately. Oof. This is tough. All right, I'm going to go... You know what? I'm going to go with Marcus Bowe from Purdue. I think they need help at guard.
Okay.
And I think Marcus Bowe is a guy who played tackle Purdue, could play anywhere in the offensive line. I think he's more of an interior guy long term. I think Marcus Bowe is going to go somewhere around this range, probably late second round, if anything, instead of mid second round. But I think this would fit a need there in Cincinnati.
Okay. All right. I mean, Bowe's an athlete. Okay. That's one I hadn't heard about this high yet. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're getting fun in Cincinnati. We're fixing the trenches for once.
You still have 4 more picks with Seattle.
Holy I know. Crap. I'm going to have some fun here. All right. So I went receiver first round. I don't know that there's an interior lineman. I would have loved Zabel here. I think Zabel would be perfect here. Couldn't get him. I think this is a good spot for Princely Umanmielen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to add him in. I know they signed DeMarcus Lawrence. They have Boye Mafe. I'm going to keep adding to the depth of this edge group. I think Umanmielen could go certainly before this. I have no issue if he went even at pick, say right around pick 29 or 30. I would have no issue with it. I think he's a guy who could sneak into the first round. I think that's a good value fit here for Seattle Princely.
All right, Princely Umanmielen going to the Seattle Seahawks. All right, next up, we've got the Denver Broncos. This is a funky one.
No, you got options.
I do have options. Good options. But I'm looking at a few of them right now is the thing. Okay, what I might do. Yeah, what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to look. We already got Omarion Hampton, so we're not going running back here. D tackle kind of dried up a little bit. So I'm not really looking right there. TJ Sanders is still there, actually.
I would have no issue with Jack Besh even.
Jack Besh.
We went Hampton first round. I mean, if you want to receive Jack Besh, Elijah Arroyo, I think you could still. I know they have Evan Ingram in there now, but I think another tight end would still help. They had the worst tight end group in football last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Elijah Arroyo, the tight end from Miami. I think he's going somewhere in the second round on draft night, and get another vertical threat at tight end, probably the best vertical threat, I would say, at tight end position that we have in this draft. I think he's going somewhere around this range. I think here to Denver would make a lot of sense for Bo Nix.
All right, back to Seattle at 52. So I've gone receiver and edge, which I like. I've yet to go interior offensive line. It's just tough because in this range, actually, no, this is an easy one. No, there's an easy one, and he might go sooner than this. Give me Donovan Jackson.
Ooh, yeah.
Yep, start him at left guard right away for Seattle. I think maybe not an all-pro type player, but I think a solid starter. If they got Donovan Jackson or Gray's able to fall to one or both of these picks, I think that's a home run. So I'm coming out of my first 3 with Seattle here with, what was it? It was Matt Golden. We had Matt Golden. We had Princely Umanmielen. We had Donovan Jackson. I think was shaping up to be a really good draft.
Yeah, love that. 53 overall, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am sprinting this card in for Benjamin Morrison. I think Ben Morrison is a top 15 to 20 talent if the medicals check out for him. Obviously, that is a big if for him right now. But like I said, he is a first-round caliber player if he's fully healthy. And I think he would have been on par with Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron and that kind of level of the cornerback class if he was fully healthy. Obviously, the hip injury is a big question mark with him, but if you get a top 20 talent at number 53 overall, I would take the risk with the medical history. And obviously the Buccaneers and all the NFL teams know better about those medicals than we do, obviously. But I think he's still going to go somewhere in the second round. I think here to Tampa Bay, I think it's a pick I would sprint the card in for.
You actually just made it slightly harder on me because I might have taken Morrison here. Mm-hmm. Man, I think what I'm going to do, and this is taking a little bit of a stab because Jeff Hafley went with a lot more zone coverage in Green Bay last year than he did at Boston College, but maybe he wants to get back to the man-to-man thing. I'm going to go corner here as well. I'm going to take Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. Kind of a press man specialist. I think he's got some work to do when he's in off coverage, when he's in zone coverage. And there's even been rumors and mock drafts where I've seen where he goes in the late first round as well. I don't necessarily know that I would do that, but I think, again, we don't know Jair Alexander's situation. Azareye'h Thomas comes in, adds more talent to a thin room, even if you have Alexander in there. I think if Hafley wants to get back to more press man coverage, Thomas is a guy he can do it with. They need help at the edge and at corner for the Packers, and we've done that with their first 2 picks.
Love it. All right, next up with the Los Angeles Chargers. I think what I'm going to do here, I might double up on D-line and go to the edge and take – I might go with JT Tuimoloau.
Oh, you going?
I think Jim Harbaugh is going to take an Ohio State guy here.
Is JT going ahead of Sawyer?
I think so.
Think so?
As of right now. I wouldn't do it. I have Sawyer high on my board, but I think JT it's very close. But I think JT is going to be going above Sawyer. I think you get Kenneth Grant there in the first round. You get JT in the second round. I think all of a sudden the D-line for Los Angeles, that was kind of a question mark. All of a sudden becomes a massive strength for them. Khalil Mack's still there too. So I think JT Tuimoloau would be a great pick here.
I like it. I like it a lot. The Bills, I went Nolan first. Corner. They're not going to do linebacker. Not early. They would maybe take a depth guy. I think I need something in the secondary, don't I? But it's kind of dried up. There's been a run on them. There's been a run on secondary. So you made it hard. You made it hard. This is another spot where I might have taken Benjamin Morrison. You know what? I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to take a similar gamble. And I know I'm not sure a ton of people would do this, but it's hard to predict the 56th pick in the draft. I'm going to help them out on the back end. Let me take the gamble on Kevin Winston Jr.
Love it.
Penn State.
Yeah, I don't think he's going this high, but I love it.
These are the types, and if I didn't do it here, if I think of someone in between, I might have done it at 62 because the Bills are coming up again here anyway. This is the type of gamble the Bills need to make on defense.
Yep.
They have to. If they want to win a Super Bowl, you can't have a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. You can't be second to last in the league in coverage grade. I think Kevin Winston Jr., if he's healthy, super high floor player, just ran a 4.4 reportedly at his pro day, 6 months recovered from ACL surgery. I think Winston's a high talent play that the Bills, again, I think the Bills have to take some gambles to make their defense better. I really do.
Definitely. Love that. I love Kevin Winston Jr. I think he's my number 2 safety in the draft. He was a first-round talent in 2023. He had a partially torn ACL this past year that limited him to only 2 games this past year, but he is the best tackler in this class. He is an elite athlete. He actually just 6 months after having ACL surgery had his pro day and ran like a 4.45. Which is crazy. He is an elite athlete, elite tackler, like one of the best tacklers I think we've ever seen in the PFF college history, and also really good in coverage as well. So I think Kevin Winston Jr., like I said, would have been a first-round pick, I thought, if he stayed healthy. Unfortunately, he didn't. So he's probably more of a late third-round pick now, but he is going to be one of the biggest steals in draft, and I can guarantee you that right now. Number 57 overall, Carolina Panthers. I'm going to go with Jack Bashir, wide receiver out of TCU. So I think Trey Harris is another receiver who I think is going to go around this range on draft night, if not a little higher. I just don't love the fit with him and Xavier Legette together. So instead, I'm going to take Jack Bashir. It could be kind of like your power slot receiver for Bryce Young. So I think Jack Bash would be a fun pick for the Carolina offense.
I think that's the fun with him is he can fill any role. He can fill any role you want for. He's a guy I would have considered, again, at this pick with Houston. I think he would have been a really good fit there, too. Speaking of Houston, you took Josh Simmons earlier.
Yep.
I am going to go.
You want D-tackle. You said that before. TJ Sanders is staring you in the face right there.
I know, but it's not the type that I need. I mean, it's a talent. It's a hard one because it's like I could take Sanders as a pass rusher who I don't necessarily trust to help their run defense, or I'm thinking about a guy like C.J. West who would fill what I'm looking for here as far as a run stopper. I need a legitimate run stopper who makes people around him better. You start to get in the range here where teams might think about a C.J. West. I think it would be a great fit in Houston, him specifically. And I do have Sanders higher on my board than West, but if I'm taking a D tackle for Houston, it's not T.J. Sanders or even Omar Norman-Lott that I'm trying to take because they're explosive pass rush types, and they could use that too. I need to stop the run. I think I'm going to go there. I'm going to go C.J. West.
Love it. All right, CJ West going there to the Houston Texans. We do read the chat, by the way. There's people asking if we read the chat at all. We do read the chat. We're just trying to get this mock as quickly as possible, considering that we're doing a 3-round mock draft today. We're not going to make this a 3-hour stream or anything like that. So CJ West going to the Texans there, number 58 overall. I promise we are reading your comments right now. Number 59 overall with the Baltimore Ravens. I am going to go with Jack Sawyer, the edge rusher out of Ohio State. I think he is a really, really good run defender. He has a great bull rush as well as a very powerful player. Obviously, the length concerns are there with Jack Sawyer, which is going to push him to day 2, but his tape, I think, is first-round worthy. But he's probably going to be more of a day 2 pick. And I think here at 59 overall, this would be an awesome pick for a Baltimore Ravens defense. It could stand to improve an edge rusher a little bit too. So I think Jack Sawyer, again, he's higher on my board personally, but I think he's going to be more of a second-round pick. And he's probably going to be around this range for Baltimore, and this would be an awesome pick for the Ravens defense.
He's a fun one. I mean, we like him a lot, and he comes up in so many big moments. I think that'd be a really nice fit for him with the Raiders. Again, they like those stand-up edge rushers. Sawyer can do it either way. I think it's a good fit. And you got guard and edge, the first 2 needs for the Ravens out of the board in the first 2 picks. Detroit, I went edge rusher already, which is cool. I don't think guard is as big a need as we think with Christian Mahogany there at right guard. I'm actually going to take the top guy on the board there at linebacker, Demetrius Knight. Look, this team, I know they have Jack Campbell. I know they have Alex Anzalone. They've got Malcolm Rodriguez, but there was a boatload of injuries last year. The depth was really tested, and I think Knight could be a potential starter at some point very soon next to Campbell as the middle linebacker. I think Knight's a really good weak side guy who's got speed. He's got the ability to cover. I think he's somebody who could really add immediately depth to this Lions defense and eventually be a starter next to Jack Campbell.
Love that. Okay, next up is the Washington Commanders.
Doubling up South Carolina. Swinson sitting there, good player.
Yeah, I was looking at Swinson.
So you want a back? We've kind of gone cold on the running backs.
We have gone cold on running backs lately. Yeah, we've kind of gone cold on running backs. I did not take an edge rusher in the first pick for them. This is their only pick they have on day 2. So I think they need to take an edge somewhere on the first or second round. And we took a Nick Manori the first round. Second round here.
I think Swinson's, if you're going that way, Swinson's probably your best option.
I don't think he's going that high. I'm going to go with, instead of what I'm going to go with, is Josiah Stewart from Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Big fan of Josiah Stewart. 92.3 pass rush grade this last year. He's one of the best pass rushers in college football, almost a 28% pass rush win rate. You can see right there as well. He was electric. Obviously, there's a little bit of size concerns with him, but I'm a big fan of Josiah Stewart. So I think he is a juiced-up pass rusher that you'd want in that defense, and I would go with him here to Washington.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Boy, that gives me some options here with the Bills. I went D-tackle and safety. I think actually for the value of it, I do think he could end up going somewhere in the second round. I'm going to take Braden Swinson here for the Bills. We're going to I know they got Joey Bosa on a 1-year deal. I know they got Michael Hoyt, who's more of an early down run defender. I think Swinson is a guy who to rotate in and get in on this defensive line. I'm trying to build a deeper defensive line in Buffalo. That's what I'm doing. I need talent. I think actually to get Swinson at 62 would be a good haul for them. And again, I'm fixing this defense. I know if anybody wants to hear about Josh Allen and the offense, this is probably not the day for you because I'm fixing this defense. I need to figure out how to fill it out and get it ready to win a Super Bowl with Allen.
Love it. All right. The Kansas City Chiefs here at number 63 overall. Oh, man. Ariante Ursery's still here. We went with Derek Harmon in the first round, right? Yeah.
It's an option. O-line's an option.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ariante Ursery here. I think he's going higher than this in draft night. He's a really athletic player, really good in a zone scheme, really massive player as well. Still some work to be done in terms of his pass blocking technique, but he has the size and length to play tackle in the NFL. I think this is a good pick for a Chiefs team. If they don't take a tackle in the first round, I think Ariante Ursery would be kind of a dream selection for them if they can get him on the second round.
Draft talent and figure it out later. Do we think at all? I mean, is he too tall, too long to play guard, we think?
I don't think so. I think he could try him at guard, but I think he could be a long-term tackle for them if Jalen Moore does not work out. So I think 63 overall. Like I said, if they don't take a tackle in the first round, I think this would be an awesome option for them in the second round.
Reasonable. Philadelphia Super Bowl champions. It feels like every time I get to make an Eagles pick, it's like a luxury. It's just like, take what you feel like. Yeah. You know what? Since he's here, I already replaced Josh Sweat with Scorton. I'm just going to replace Milton Williams with TJ Sanders, too.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's an explosive, three-technique type of pass rusher. I think they don't have to work him in. They can use Jordan Davis on early downs. They could bring Sanders in to specialize on passing downs, and I think he could very well go before this. And I think, Howie Roseman, I could look at safety or corner here. It's kind of thin at the moment with where we are on the board. I'm taking Sanders, and I've just replaced everything I lost on my defensive line.
Love that. Yeah, I love that a lot. I love TJ Sanders. He's a really, really good player. All right. Next up, we've got the New York Giants.
I have a suggestion. I think Ozzie Trapilo would be awesome here. I cannot go into another season with Evan Neal as the starting right tackle.
No.
I think Trapilo is going to be a solid starter. I think that's somewhere I would really think about.
I was looking at
O-line.
O-line.
Or a back, because somehow we didn't get any running backs in round 2, and that feels.
Yeah, weird. I think that's. Who else is available at tackle? Yeah, I'll probably go Trapilo because, like you said, there are tackles I think is going to go above Trapilo on draft night. Like I think Cam Williams is going to go above Ozzie Trapilo. However, Cam Williams is a lot like Evan Neal in that he's just a pure home run swing. Like that is a pure boomer bust pick. I mean, you don't want to have bust twice at right tackle if you're New York. So I'm going to go with Ozzie Trapilo. I think he's more of a safer option for them. So I'm going to go with him there.
I like that a lot. That's a team that I've thought Trapilo would fit in on big time. I just think a solid, stable starter at right tackle. I might go the Mekhi Becton route with Evan Neal and move him inside and see if that works.
Yep.
But I can't have him as the right tackle for another year if they're trying to win ball games. Kansas City. I think running back is kind of a need here. They re-signed Kareem Hunt another year. I know Isaiah Pacheco's really good, but this was a team near the bottom of the league in explosive run rate, and if that's where I'm looking, I know there's some other backs that we're going to talk about scheme fits and all sorts of things. I'm going to take Travion Henderson for the Chiefs here. I think the blazing speed, the fact that the Chiefs are a committee back type of team anyway. Henderson has a long history of getting 15 touches or less in games at Ohio State and still being really efficient with it. I think the Chiefs would have a lot of fun mixing him in and his speed in with Pacheco and Hunt and the power running that they already have there. I think he'd be a great part of a committee here and add the explosive element to their run game that was completely missing last year. Travion Henderson.
Travion Henderson going there to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to double up on Ohio State running backs here. I'm going to go with Quinshon Judkins here to the Cleveland Browns.
Low moving costs.
Yeah, low moving costs, exactly. Yeah. So back-to-back Ohio State running backs there. I think Cleveland's just trying to add more to that offense right now. You drafted Jackson Dart in the second round of the draft, drafted Abdul Carter in the first round. Now you got Quinshon Judkins in the third round of the draft.
All right, you know what I'm going to do? We're going 3 running backs in a row here. And look, the Raiders, I had to get here eventually because they were last in the league in rushing grade last year. But, when Pete Carroll watches Cam Scatterboo, does he see a little Marshawn Lynch in him? Just a little bit behind an offensive line like that. Just that engine starter that just wants to run people over even more than he wants to win. That's where I'm going. I don't know if Scatterboo will get in the second round or early here in the third round, but I'll tell you what, that to add that presence, to add here, this is the idea with McMillan in the first round for the Raiders and digging into the running back depth, because we just got to pick 68 and a guy like Cam Scatterboo was on the board. And I'm all about that. I think he's an underrated receiver, brings the attitude to your offense kind of in the same way that Lynch used to in Seattle. I think we're getting a run of running backs here, and I'm continuing that with Scatterboo to Vegas. Also, Cam Scatterboo in the black and silver. How awesome would that look?
That would be pretty awesome.
Man, oh man, if only it was in Oakland, the old days of the black hole, that place would be going nuts. But no, I think it'll work. I think that'll work, and that's the idea with the Raiders going receiver early and running back a little later.
Yeah, like that a lot.
You going 4 in a row here?
I was thinking about Caleb Johnson, but they run a lot of gap-heavy runs in New England.
With McDaniels back again, right, for a third time?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
That's why I was kind of like, they actually run gap at the highest rate in the NFL.
Would you think more about a Dylan Sampson?
Dylan Sampson's a possibility here. I was looking at running back. That's really what I was going to take Cam Scatterboo if you did not
just going with them all in a row.
Yeah. I told you, it's going to be a run.
This is our apology to the running backs. We forgot you into second round, so now you're just all going to go right at the top of the third.
I'm just trying to see who else is available here in this draft real quick before I make a selection. Yeah, I think I might just. You took Emeka Egbuka already. You took O-line already as well. They don't really need. I might go Dylan Sampson here.
I don't hate that at all. I have no issue with Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, let's go Dylan Sampson. We've got four running backs in a row right now.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I'm going to go with the fifth one.
No.
I could think about it. We could just make the whole third round running backs. That's how deep this class is. All right, Jacksonville. I think I just had a name in my head that I was going to go with. There it is right there. Yep. Tight end is thin because we talked about the the Broncos getting Evan Ingram. Well, the Jags lost Evan Ingram, and I know there's some other player, Brenton Strange, I know they like in there, but, let's add some talent to this tight end room. I'm going to go. They took 2 guys out of LSU last year on the defensive line. We're going to go back to Baton Rouge. We're going to take Mason Taylor to the Jacksonville Jaguars at tight end. I think a player who needs some time to develop. I don't know that he's an every down starter right now, but really young guy, whole lot of potential. You can see the athletic potential. Obviously, the pedigree is son of Jason Taylor. I think the Jags getting a tight end somewhere here on day 2 makes a lot of sense, and Mason Taylor could be their guy.
Love that. So Saints people in the chat were pissed at me for not taking Ashton Jeanty top 10 of the Saints. Well, instead you got Tyler Warren in top 10, and I think you get Caleb Johnson here in the second round, or in the third round, I should say. So I'm taking Caleb Johnson, another running back, to the New Orleans Saints. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here.
I think it's helpful. I think the one thing I might have thought about going defense instead there.
Yeah, we haven't gone defense yet with them, but I don't know. I like that fit a lot with New Orleans. They run zone at a pretty average rate in the NFL, so it's not like it's not a complete scheme skip. And I think that's where I think he would fit in that.
And he
offense.
doesn't have to carry the full load with Alvin Kamara still there doing everything that he does, even at his age. All right, the Bears. I went running back. I went D-line, or we went D-line twice. You know something I didn't know? You know the Bears had one of the worst slot receiving grades in the league last year?
Really?
Yeah, just couldn't find the connection with Keenan Allen. He's gone now. Obviously, we have DJ Moore, who stays a lot on the outside. You have Odunze, but I think I might go that route. And one of my favorite players in the draft is that guy sitting right at the top of the board, Xavier Restrepo. I'm going there. I think Ben Johnson's looking to supercharge this offense. Restrepo at 72, I think might even be a steal. I know there's controversy about the 40 time lately. He was also tweeting out that he had tweaked his hamstring and then ran a 40 anyway and ended up being 4.8 and whatever. But even if he ran like a 4.6, as good a route runner as he is, and all the possibilities for him, I think, in this offense. And again, we've talked about it with Cam Ward down at Miami. Make the scramble drill a lot easier, right? Restrepo just knows what to do in improv situations. Well, that's Caleb Williams, is it not, right? So I think Restrepo here for the Bears. I think you talk about an offense that already has the pieces they had, add to the offensive line, then you get Ashton Jeanty at 10, then you get Xavier Restrepo. It's not a whole lot of holes in there as long as Ben Johnson and Caleb can execute, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like Xavier Restrepo. I think he's probably going to be more of a third-round pick now after that 40-yard dash time. What was like a 4.8 something he ran?
Again, he says he ran it with a tweaked hamstring. I don't think you can usually tell on tape if a guy is slow enough.
No, he's not 4.8 slow, but he's definitely not a blazer either.
No, so, he's probably high 4.5, low 4.6 if I were guessing. From what I've seen, let's say if he ran a 4.62, look, he doesn't win with his 40. He wins with the route running, and to get him in early in the third, I don't hate it.
No, he's not going to be a guy that you want running 40 yards down the field really that much anyways. So I like Xavier Restrepo alive as still a slot receiver in this class, but I think it's going to be a third-round pick now. All right, Jets, number 73 overall. I am going to go with our guy, Deion Walker out of Kentucky. I think Deion Walker is going to go in the third round of the draft. This is actually right around the range where I think he's going to go. I still think there's something to be tapped into there with Deion Walker. He was a guy that was a projected first rounder entering the year, led the nation in pressures as a sophomore, freaky build at 6'7", like 340 pounds. Wasn't nearly as good this last year. He's got to develop his lower body strength as well. And that is not nearly the athlete that we thought he might be. But I still think there's something there with Deion Walker. He's been a productive player as a pass rusher and run defender in the SEC, and like I said, he's got a freaky build at that size. So I think Deion Walker will still go in the third round of the draft, even though it wasn't the best last year for him.
Certainly not the best last year, and not the best pre-draft process either, especially with the athletic testing. Another guy would have
Senior Bowl wasn't great to him either.
Another guy would have thought about there for the Jets is Jared Ivey. There's a John Franklin Myers comp floating around there in this building. And obviously they lost him and a couple other pieces on their D-line. It wasn't as good this past year. Jared Ivey would have been another guy I consider. But, again, you're taking a swing on talent. Walker's certainly got talent. We've seen it before. He was fighting through injury this year. I get it. They need help on the inside next to Quinnen for sure. 74 for Carolina. This is a spot where I really like Omar Norman-Lott. An explosive pass rusher on the inside. This was the team that was dead last in the league in pass rush grade. So now in our first couple of picks here, we've gotten Jalen Walker, who can, whether he's full-time edge or sometimes or hybrid or whatever, helps the pass rush off the edge. And then Omar Norman-Lott is a really good rotational pass rusher for now. Needs to work on run defense, but I think in passing situations, a great compliment to Derek Brown. I think this is somebody in the third round who could really help him for now at least 20 to 25 snaps a game in obvious passing situations.
Yep, love that. All right, next up we got the San Francisco 49ers, I am going to go.
You want D-line?
Yeah, I want D-line. I'm going to go with Jordan Birch here. I think Jordan Birch is going to be a third-round pick. Yeah.
Get some size in there. Okay.
Yeah, I like Jordan Birch. I think he's going to be a third-round pick. Yeah, like I said, he's a big edge rusher at 295 pounds. Really athletic player at that size as well. Really good pass rusher. So, yeah, I think Jordan Birch would be a third-round pick. I think a guy from San Francisco would be interested in there.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I don't mind that. They need help on their D-line, too. I think it's going to be a heavy trench draft.
Yeah.
I know, did we go, forget what we went in the second round for them.
We took a corner.
That's the reason you took Trey Amos.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good value. But I think for the most part, there's going to be a heavy trench draft in San Francisco. O-line, D-line is going to be a major focus. Dallas Cowboys. We've already gone. I'm pulling up the team. Campbell and Iamane are here. Okay. I think I'm going to stay on the defensive line. I think I'm going to go low-moving costs again. I'm going to go Shamar Turner inside.
Okay.
I think if there's enough size there's enough talent to fit in Matt Eberflus' defense. He can play either inside alignment in that four-down front that he's going to use a lot. And if nothing else, again, Texas A&M, we've talked about it a lot. You get proven run stoppers out of there, right? We've talked about Scoreton's one of those guys who showed it this year. Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner now. I think it makes a lot of sense for Dallas. Again, fix this darn run defense. If you want to go to the postseason again, fix this friggin' run defense. And I think Turner and Jahad Campbell are two guys I've done that with here so far.
Yep, love that. All right, next up we got the New England Patriots. I'm going to go.
You can start making some value plays here because you've gone tackle, receiver, running back already.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'll attack receiver again, but
I was thinking about receiver. That's what I was looking at.
Again?
Yeah.
Wow.
I might go again.
I know they have Henry and Hooper, but those are two veteran guys. Would you think tight end here too?
I was thinking about tight end. Yeah, I forgot Stephon Diggs too. So they do have Stephon Diggs.
Because now it's like if you've already drafted now, or I drafted.
No, they're not going receiver. Yeah, you're right. I forgot Stephon Diggs is there. So they got Stephon Diggs, and then you drafted Igbuka too, right? And then you got Mario Douglas there. Yeah, I'm not going to go receiver. I'm going to go with.
I think Terrence Ferguson might make some sense. You could develop him behind those two veterans.
Terrence Ferguson makes
work
sense.
Him along slowly.
Yeah, he makes some sense. I was looking at him too.
Edge player too could be a thing if you wanted one.
Maybe just keep attacking the old line too.
Could always use more of them.
I think. I'm going to go Jonas Vinea.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, he has not gone yet. I'm going to go with him here.
Versatile. That's actually a perfect situation. You think about versatile backup, and maybe eventually a year or two down the line, maybe taking over for Morgan Moses at right tackle. That's actually a great call. That's probably one of my favorite picks we've made today.
Yeah, I think Jonas Vinea is going to go around this range. I think it might be a second-round pick, and he played right tackle at Arizona. Probably going to play in the interior long-term in the NFL, but like I said, he's got the versatility to do anything on the offensive line. You got to help out that offensive line even more. I know we took Will Campbell in the first round, who's got the versatility too to play anywhere. You have two versatile offensive linemen in Campbell and Jonas Vinea. Just get your best five.
I think that's a fantastic pick for the sake of he's a guy that I would like to see not start day one and develop and get stronger in an NFL weight room. And maybe obviously he's versatile enough he can be a backup. But I think if you talk about him eventually maybe being the replacement again for Morgan Moses at right tackle, he can pass protect. No question. His footwork is great. He can pass protect. I think that's a fantastic pick. I really do.
Appreciate it. All right, next up.
I know you don't get many compliments.
No, I don't. Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, so you taking Alfred Collins, I think, takes Jared Ivey off the board for me here. Would have thought about it. Do I go third straight Texas, Vernon Broughton? No, I'm not doing it. Corner D tackle. Trapilo would have been a nice fit here, but he's obviously gone.
Vinea would have made sense for that.
Vinea would have been awesome here. Damn, killed me on that. I think
they take a swing on Cameron Williams. He's still available. I think he's going around this range.
That might be a thing.
Wyatt Milam.
There's one other thing I'm looking at here.
Tate Ratledge is rising up boards lately.
Looking at one other thing. You know what I'm going to do? Something I really like. I know they have some pieces here. I'm going to go with a player that I really like. I think would add some nice size to their edge room. I know they have Baron Browning, who was a good pass rusher last year. Josh Sweat, obviously, they paid a lot of money, but I'm going to add some depth. I'm going to get a run stopper in there. Oh, man. Damn it. You made this tough. You know what? Actually, no. I'm going to take the talent play. There was another guy I was thinking about. I'm going to go Jared Ivey. I'll take Jared Ivey because he's a versatile piece who Jonathan Gannon can mess around with the fronts. If he wants him inside, cool. If he wants him to stand up off the edge on early downs, cool. That's the kind of the John Franklin Myers sort of thing with Jared Ivey. There was one other guy I was thinking about that I think I'll get to before the end of this show here, but give me Jared Ivey to Arizona. It's a good value.
Yeah, I like that. All right, we're not taking a receiver yet for Houston.
Oh, good call.
You know, this is where I'm going to take the swing.
Trey.
Yeah, I'm taking Trey Harris.
Harris.
I wouldn't take him this high. I think he's going around even higher than this. Kind of a limited route tree, but there's things to like with Trey Harris for sure, but I'm just not as high on him as a lot of other people are. But I think in a predictable mock draft, he's going to go probably in the second round. So I think getting him here late third round, I think it's probably, or mid third round, I should say, is probably where Houston will be looking at here.
I'm with you. I think they're going to come out of this draft with at least one receiver relatively early because it's a need. I mean, no question with Tank out. Right now you have Nico Collins, you have Christian Kirk, who's off kind of an injury-riddled year. I'm
probably hoping Trey can develop in the same way Nico Collins did, too, and that same kind of archetype of player, too.
Yeah, agree with that. Yep. All right, so you went Schlesinger the last round, so I'm not going linebacker here. The Colts, and I'm not going Ferguson because we already have a pretty darn good tight end. I think for the Colts, like the idea of adding to their edge unit. Mm-hmm. I think their depth off the edge as well. I'll go Kyle Kennard here.
Okay.
I think to work into that rotation with Leatu Latu, with Kwity Paye, I think they do need a little bit more. They don't blitz a whole lot, although that could change a little bit depending week to week with Lou Anarumo. But I'll go with Kyle Kennard here. He was the whichever Defensive Player of the Year award he won. I always forget the two of Nagurski or Bednarik. He won one of the two, and I always forget which one it was. But Kyle Kennard adds to the Colts' edge depth.
Love that. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals. Think about a linebacker here, but I'm between, does Al Golden go with his guy, Jack Kaiser, who I don't think is going to go, maybe not this high.
He certainly didn't need to interview.
I don't think he's going this high, actually. I'm going to go with Chris Paul instead. And then maybe you add another linebacker on day 3.
Sure.
And Jack Kaiser, who I think Jack Kaiser is probably going to be more of a 5th round pick if I had to predict. I don't know if they'll go in the 3rd round. I think Chris Paul would be a 3rd round pick, so I'm going him here to the Bengals.
All right, Seattle at 82. This is a pick I've been waiting to make, and I'm so glad that the guy I wanted dropped here. Look, we know the story. The interior offensive line's a mess.
Yep.
I think if this is a guy, he's almost exactly at the spot on the big board. Jared Wilson from Georgia.
Like it.
I think you start this interior offensive line, guards and centers, Clint Kubiak, you hold open competitions at all 3 of these spots. I'm telling you right now, Christian Haynes in-house, Oluwatimi, all of that. I'm taking Jared Wilson 82 if he's there. Absolutely, if I'm Seattle. I think if I came out of this with Donovan Jackson and Jared Wilson, I don't know if they'll both start right away. You got a boatload of young players, but man, he's really athletic. I think there's not many pure center prospects in this draft. There's guys like Campbell and Zabel who we've speculated, they could play center. Jared Wilson's a center. He's a really athletic one. I think Clint Kubiak would like him a lot. And to get him and Donovan Jackson both in this draft, I feel really good about this. And this is, again, the advantage of Seattle having all these day 2 picks where they're picking from 50 and back here to 92 that we're going to get to in a minute. That's the sweet spot for me for interior offensive line in this class, and this would be a case where Seattle hit a home run.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, Pittsburgh is up next. So all we've done so far is get Shedeur Sanders here.
I think I know what I would do here.
What would you do?
I know there's been talk about D-line as well. I think I would take Jalen Knoll. I got to diversify this.
Another vertical threat, though?
Unless,
that's the thing.
I mean, I guess it's kind of, is that redundant too? Or do you take, I don't think they'll do it because he's so light, but like a Tej Johnson, I still need somebody to diversify this off. Or not. Or you go D-line and you just go, because that's been some speculation too. If it's a Josh Farmer who we've thought we're a little lower on, but some think Josh Farmer's more of a 2nd-round pick. Is it a Josh Farmer? I would think about that's what I would think about receiver or even running back, honestly. But I guess you're right. Knoll's kind of a little bit redundant to Roman Wilson,
and also just DK and Pickens just going to be downfield threats too.
Right.
You just throw deep every play.
This is if Shedeur wasn't on the board, that's my whole Ibuka to the Steelers argument in the first round, if that's a thing.
Yeah. But, no, I like that.
Or you could go D-line. I mean, like a Josh Farmer. Look, I've had some of you guys even telling me like, hey, they do kind of need D tackle if you wanted to
just
take one of those
for
guys
the
up
future.
there.
Yeah, it's not really a need right now, but you're kind of drafting for the future.
Jordan Phillips, too, a strong player, strong run defender who needs some polish but can get in some part-time work. I think any of those guys.
Jalen Royals.
Royals makes some sense as more of an after-the-catch guy. That's reasonable. If he can play more in the slot, that does make sense.
I might go with Jalen Royals here, actually, for them. Again, I'm not as high on Jalen Royals as other people, but he's going to go in the third round. I think this would be more of a fit than Jalen Noel would be for the Steelers. So I'll probably take Tez Johnson. I love Tez Johnson, but I don't think he's going this high in the NFL draft. So I'm not going to take him.
Agreed.
Here.
Let's see. The Bucks.
Jalen Royals is who I just took for the Steelers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've gone edge. We've gone corner. We've gone edge. We've gone corner. I think we're okay at D tackle. Tampa Bay. We're certainly fine at running back. I think Tampa Bay.
Are there any?
Oh, okay. Actually, I have one. How about Andrew Makuba?
Okay.
Tampa Bay. Like Jordan Whitehead wasn't great last year. I think only one more year on the contract. Let's get more depth in the secondary. I think Andrew Makuba could go much higher than this. Then what did we at 84?
Yeah.
I'll take Makuba to the Bucks. I think that's going to be at some point, if he's the starter, a fun compliment to Antoine Winfield.
Love that. All right. Next up, the Denver Broncos, number 85 overall. So we took a running back already, took a tight end already.
This is Jalen Noel, or do you go defense?
Do we just completely go all in on?
Are there any linebackers you like in this range?
Yeah, I was thinking about linebacker. I mean, they just signed Drake Greenlaw.
That's true too. Could take a swing on a guy like maybe, I don't know if Basso would go this high.
Yeah, I don't know if Basso would go this high.
You could go. This could be a Jalen Noel spot too.
It could be a Jalen Noel spot. I just don't know if they would go 3 weapons to start the draft, even though it might not be the worst thing.
Hell, I would.
It might not be the worst idea for them.
I mean, and then you get to this point in the draft where you're just taking depth. I mean, if there's just a guy that you like, we're starting to get in that range. We're just take guys you like too.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is take Josh Farmer here. I think they'd be interested in Josh Farmer. So I'm going to take Josh Farmer. Again, I'm not the highest in Josh Farmer either, but he's probably going to be a 3rd round pick. Yeah, I think that's probably, after taking a running back and a tight end in the first 2 picks, and they probably look to the other side of the ball here, so I'll take Josh Farmer.
Got it. All right. The Chargers. We've gone D. We doubled up on the D line, which is interesting. So,
weapon here. Ferg's still here.
I think a weapon. It's Ferguson or it's running back, and honestly, they could still wait another round for running back because you're talking their next pick is at 125. There's probably going to be a good back at 125 too, actually. I think you make a good point. I think Terrence Ferguson here, I know they just signed Tyler Conklin, but Ferguson, they need to rebuild this whole room. It was another team where it was one of the worst tight end rooms in the league last year. I think this is a really good spot for Terrence Ferguson. Look, Jim Harbaugh likes his 12 personnel. He likes multiple guys on the field. They can work Ferguson in as the second guy alongside Conklin. I think Ferguson, if they were to get him at 86, they would feel good about it if they didn't already get a tight end earlier.
Yep. All right, I'm going to make a pick that you might not be a big fan of here, Dalton. But
I'm not a big fan of any picks you. No, I'm kidding. I was a big fan of the Patriots pick. You got one.
I appreciate that. I am going to take Isaiah Bond here for the Green Bay Packers.
You're trying to get vertical.
Get vertical. I think he's going to go around this range, if not higher. He's a speedy guy. I know he didn't run as fast before as people thought he was going to run, but you're looking for more of a vertical threat for this offense. I think Isaiah Bond fits that billing. Again, you and I are probably not as high on Isaiah Bond as other people are. Did not have a great year this last year at Texas, but I think he fits what they're looking for in that receiving core right now. So he's not, by no means does he fix the need for a number 1 wide receiver for the Packers, but he does help out as a vertical option for an offense and a quarterback that loves to throw down the field. So I think Isaiah Bond would be the pick here for Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm not killing that. I'm not killing that at all. I think I get what you're going for there because they just don't. They need somebody who can. With Christian Watson always hurt. They need somebody who can get downfield, and certainly Isaiah Bond is fast. I think there's plenty of other parts of his game that need to be worked on, which is why to me this is about the range I could reason with them going. You want speed? You have it. All right, and the Packers. I get because you've been on this where you're like the Packers need a vertical threat.
Yeah,
and that
Watson
is
coming off the injury,
and that is one in this range. Yeah. All right, Jacksonville. Where have I gone already? D tackle, safety, tight end. It's a good draft. I mean, we picked it, but it's a pretty good draft.
Another receiver here you might like, or
no? I don't think receiver. I don't think because you got Brian Thomas, you got Gabe Davis. They like Parker Washington. I mean, I guess you could stack it with Jalen Noel. And at this point in the draft, you're looking depth. You know, I'm going to take, somebody, and I know their front five is loosely set with some veterans, but I think a guy that they could use on the offensive line that could help them eventually. I'm going to take Wyatt Milam here.
Love it.
I'm going to go Wyatt Milam. I think, they're piecing together this offensive line, but I think James Gladstone is still going to want to take down. Is he the highest graded tackle in college football last year? Is that right?
Yep.
I mean, that counts for something. I know he didn't look great at the Senior Bowl. I know we got
very, very short arms.
We got to figure out if he's a tackle or a guard. But I think
he's probably play guard.
But I think in the same realm of how Patrick McCarry, who they just signed to play guard, developed, he kind of developed all over the place. And now he's a decent starter. I think Milam could go down that same route.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Wyatt Milam. I think he's one of the best interior O-linemen we have in this draft. And you see those grades right there. I mean, he was a dominant player for the Mountaineers this past year. So I love that at number 88 overall for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 89 overall, we got the Houston Texans here. Got a few options, actually, for Houston that I don't hate for them.
You could double up defensive line. You could I
want to go to the interior.
Ooh.
I like Tate Ratledge, man.
I do like Tate Ratledge.
I was going to say
look, at their offensive line right now, however many darts you want to throw at it, throw them.
Yeah.
Tate Ratledge is a really good athlete and a really good pass protector.
Oh, he tested out way better than I thought he was going to at his pro day and at the combine too. I think he needs to
throw darts at the wall. I don't blame you one bit.
He's been the run blocking has been. He actually was better in run blocking this past year, but the run blocking his entire career has not been the best. But he has been arguably the best pass blocker in college football at guard position for the last few years. And for a team that just desperately needs to protect their franchise quarterback and C.J. Stroud, Tate Ratledge would be a home run pick here in the third round for the Texans. So I think Tate Ratledge would help out. And you get Josh Simmons there. You get Tate Ratledge there all of a sudden in the offensive line, which looked like a dire need for them. You start to fix it a little bit with those two players. So I love Tate Ratledge here to the Texans.
I'm in on that. I'm totally in on that. The Rams, we finally back to the Rams at 90 after not picking since 26.
Yep.
Look at that.
You want to grab a 26 tonight? That was you grabbed Maxwell Hairston.
I went corner. So my immediate thoughts are linebacker. Well, I'm picking again at 101 with the Rams. Mm-hmm. Well, that's fun. Linebacker. Or I think this is a spot with as much as they have time to develop him.
Cameron Williams.
Which is what he needs. This is a Cameron Williams spot. Yeah. With the idea that you still have Rob Havenstein at right tackle for at least another year. You don't have to start Cameron this year. Maybe McVay, he's been going more with the gap scheme with the duo blocking lately, but maybe eventually gets back to the zone roots, or he just wants to develop Williams. And, the thing he needs to fix is a pass protection. He can run block, no question. He needs to fix a pass protection. I think this could be a good developmental spot for Cameron Williams. I'm going to go there, and maybe, just maybe, they can develop him into the right tackle of the future.
Do you have any thoughts about developing maybe a quarterback behind Matthew Stafford?
Thoughts?
You didn't want to do it?
No, right Will Howard instead.
Will Howard? Yeah, I don't hate it. I think that makes sense.
Howard, yeah. Milroe's still on the board.
Milroe's still on the board.
I know he very well could go sooner than this, but could go soon here also.
Still on the board, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's one. Jalen Milroe.
He might be on the board in the next few picks.
He's like the hardest player to figure out in this draft.
We got a few options for Milroe later on, so we won't do it here. But all right, Baltimore next up. Who do we grab? We grab Baltimore. We got Tyler Booker there. We got Jack Sawyer there as well. I'm thinking about more of a DB. I mean, I just got to see who's available right now at DB for the Baltimore Ravens. Because I think either corner or safety could be.
Jacob Parrish is a good player.
Yeah,
and somebody with versatility inside or outside. They just signed. Who did they just sign to play corner? I already forgot.
Yeah. That's why I'm taking Jacob Parrish here. I just watched Jacob Parrish. We're doing our cornerbacks episode on the college football show, so go check out that pretty soon. I just watched him. I like him a lot. So I think Jacob Parrish.
That's it. They just signed Chidobe Awuzie, and they have TJ Tampa, the 4th-round pick from last year. But I think Parrish, for the sake of versatility and maybe eventually if he becomes a starting caliber player, if it's him inside or Humphrey outside or the other way around or however they want to do it, I think they like those movable pieces. I think Parrish
very, very good zone corner too. So I like Jacob Parrish a lot. Yeah.
Back to Seattle again. All right, so I've doubled up offensive line. I went Princely and Golden. I got the luxury here of taking what I want, honestly. That's kind of where I'm at for Seattle. That feels good. How about a guy I just kind of like, who I just think is a good football player. It's just a good addition to a team's secondary. I'll take Lathan Ransom from Ohio State. I think he's a really good run defender, graded really highly in run defense last year, as you see right there. Kind of that box safety slot-ish hybrid role who can, in Seattle, Mike McDonald likes those movable pieces, obviously moving Devin Witherspoon all over the place, but a little bit thin at safety. I think Lathan Ransom might fill kind of a specialized need for them in there.
Love it. All right, next up, we got the New Orleans Saints.
Now, the Milroe question comes up here.
Milroe is definitely a question.
You think about it. I think, to me, I could go here and say, okay, you already went Caleb Johnson. I almost said R.J. Harvey, but no. I think the Milroe question's alive, or it's maybe one of these defensive linemen.
I'm gonna go with Olufemi Oladejo.
Okay, that's a hot name lately.
Yeah, it is. I think he's gonna go in the third round. So the edge rusher from UCLA. Number 111 on the big board. So, yeah, I think he's a guy that is going to go around this range. He had a pretty good Senior Bowl, I thought. Really good run defender as well. Still some work to do as a pass rusher, but Saints got to improve the D-line at D-tackle and edge, and I think Oladejo is going to be one of the options there for them.
I get that. D-line is a big need. Do I go Jalen Milroe here to the Browns, compete with Dart? No, I'm kidding. The Browns, edge, QB, running back. We already went. I'd love a corner. I would have liked Parrish here. That's already gone. Dorian Strong is somebody, who could help them. I think, though, they also need to get younger on this offensive line. I'm going to go with a guy who's a really good athlete. I think he could stay at tackle if he gets a little bit stronger and fixes his hand technique. We'll see. Either way, wherever he plays, the Browns need younger offensive linemen. Let me get Charles Grant from William & Mary.
Okay.
I think he's somebody in Stefanski's system, the run scheme, that could be athletic enough to succeed there. I think this is a good developmental player to have, even if they don't play him this year a whole lot. I think he's somebody who could help them. I think it's a good swing late in the third round here.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Some options here for them.
Receiver, edge, like an Elijah Roberts.
Yeah,
I don't hate that.
Receiver is an option too. There's actually one name I was thinking about. Yeah, receiver could be an option for them.
As you're looking at right now, you're gonna have Rice, you're gonna have Worthy. Is there any size at receiver right now that could help them?
You know what I might do? It's kind of a fun one. And I still think he's going in the third round, even though some people think he's going lower. I'm going to go with Howard Fannin Jr. here. I think you get him in a creative offensive system like the one Andy Reid has. You hope you can learn behind one of the greatest tight ends of all time in Travis Kelce.
Design some looks for him.
Design looks, yes. I think Harold Fannin Jr. is still going to be a day 2 pick. I'm going to go with him here to the Kansas City Chiefs at number 95 overall.
All right, I'm not hating that. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
I think he needs to go to a creative offense, and there's not a lot of more creative offensive minds than Andy Reid. So
I'm not against that.
It could be kind of like the Isaiah Likely to the Mark Andrews of Travis Kelce a little bit.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they're trying to figure. Yeah, and Kelce, we don't know if he's maybe got one more year. Is that it? I mean,
he's seen close to retirement this year.
We're on a year-to-year basis with Kelce for sure. Philadelphia, I think 2 places I could go here. Oh, actually, 3 places I could go. I'm thinking about corner. I'm thinking about receiver. And one of the things that I've said lately, they signed A.J. Dillon in free agency, but we don't know what you get out of him. One of the things I've said lately is even teams with the talent in this running back class, even teams that you don't think need a running back, may take them just to do it because they're talented guys you could always add to the room. And Saquon carried such a heavy load this year. I know you could argue the greatest running back season ever that he just had, getting the Eagles at 2 and through the Super Bowl. But I think some depth would still help them. They've got A.J. Dillon. They've got Will Shipley, who this past year was more of kick returner, special teamer, kind of just, depth guy. I'm gonna get fun here. I'll take R.J. Harvey.
Ooh, okay, not Jalen Noel?
Thought about it, but they also... You know how they are. I mean, and they still have Jahan Dotson too. It's just they're always building the run game.
Yeah.
And I just think again, you're going to see teams that you go, well, why do they need a running back? And I go, well, one, it's pick 96. What's the difference? And two, it's such a talented class. And I think Harvey, I had him RB8. You had him 10 or 11. I mean, he's a really good player. He's going to go in this range. And to have him behind Saquon, just to spell him, because it's going to be hard to believe that Barkley is going to run for all the way through whatever it was, 2,500 yards again, or whatever it was all the way through the postseason. Get some depth. Give them some air once in a while, and use anywhere you can. The Eagles have this luxury of building depth even behind the star players. I'm going to go Harvey there for the Eagles. Good, okay. I think a good talent play there.
Like that. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings here.
Minnesota.
Ooh, we only got one pick earlier with Malachi Starks.
Yeah, this is another one. I think about D-line and I think about running back.
Yeah. I'm going to go.
Ooh.
We got options here.
Ooh.
I would love to take the swing here on Aeneas Peebles, but I do not think he's going this high, so I'm not going to take him here.
And I would like I think a run stopper would be better.
Which is why
Peebles. My other thought is, man, I wouldn't hate Damian Martinez in this offense.
No, I don't hate it either. I don't know if he's going in the third round, though. I'm going to go with Vernon Braun to Minnesota here. I like Vernon Braun a lot. Again, another guy who was kind of lost in the shuffle, that Texas D-line, but this year kind of played a bigger role and was a really good pass rusher and a pretty good run defender too. So I think he's a guy that could just kind of develop in that interior D-line for them right now.
Reasonable. Dolphins, we have Will Johnson, we have Gray Zabel. We have options, need help in the trenches on both sides. Give me...
With Tyreek Hill trade rumors, do you take another speedy receiver can play in the slot here?
Oh, I can't guess on that this late because that would have been like a first-round question.
Jalen Noel, though? I'm just trying to find a spot for Jalen Noel.
No, it makes sense. I mean, Noel would make some sense here.
They love speed. Or do you think with a guy with an injury history at quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, does Mike McDaniel want the fastest quarterback in the draft?
The other Alabama quarterback? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Stop making this so difficult. I think we're gonna. Oh, man, it's tough because with Milroe, man, sitting there. No, they're not gonna do it. He's committed to Tua. I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna take Jordan Phillips from Maryland. I think we're gonna get some interior run defense help. They lost Calais. Is Calais Campbell still a free agent? Did he sign anywhere?
I don't think so.
Well, for now, they don't have him, and he was their best run defender last year. I'm going to take Jordan Phillips as, at least for now, an early down run defender, and we're going to not get too crazy with Miami. I'm going to stick to the needs.
Okay. I'm going to go Jalen Moreau here to the Giants. You got a coach in Brian Dable who helped develop Josh Allen into the superstar he was, and you take the toolsiest quarterback in this year's draft in Jalen Milroe and potentially see if he could develop into your franchise quarterback down the line, because I don't think Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston are the answer there in New York. So Jalen Milroe, I think he's going to go higher than this. I think it'd probably be a second-round pick, honestly. But I think he would be a fun pick for Brian Dable to try to develop in however many years he got left in New York.
I think that's reasonable. I think, and again, you have him sitting behind two. That's a spot where you go, okay, sitting behind two veteran guys. There is no reason Milroe should have to play at all in 2025 and maybe even 2026, depending on where you feel like you're at in his development. So I think that makes a lot of sense there, especially if he falls that far. I think he might be him and Dart might be the two hardest players to predict in the entire draft. So we just have no idea. San Fran, I'm looking D-line. I'm going to go to a guy you mentioned before in Aeneas Peebles. One of the most productive pass rushers, interior pass rushers in college football over the last 3 years. The Niners just don't have any proven pass rushers at defensive tackle right now. They got to complement Nick Bosa on this D-line. I think again, it's a trench-heavy draft for San Francisco. You went Jordan Birch off the edge with the previous pick. I'm going Peebles on the inside. I think that's where they need to get better O-line, D-line. Thinking we've accomplished that so far for San Francisco.
All right. Like that. 101, the LA Rams. I am, again, going to take a quarterback. I'm going to go with Will Howard here. The quarterback out of Ohio State. I think he is also going to be potentially a late second-round pick, early third-round pick. So getting him here to the late third round, I think is a pretty good value here for LA. And I just don't know how much longer Matthew Stafford is going to be in LA. I know he just re-signed with them, and he's going back to LA. But he's obviously very much up there in age. There are trade rumors already with him this offseason. So I think Will Howard, Sean McVay at some point is going to have to figure out what the future is at quarterback. It's not Stetson Bennett. I'm going to go with Will Howard here, number 101.
I don't mind it. That's an exact spot where he could sit back, watch Stafford succeed. I think he could run McVay's system. And again, I think got so much better in the drop back game this past year that you really have to just appreciate the progress that he made in 1 year at Ohio State. All right. We've got...
Can I suggest Jalen Knowles so the chat does not crucify us if we don't take him in this round?
For the Lions?
Because they've been begging for Jalen Knowles to go every single pick we've had, basically.
Oh, wow. This is the Jalen Knowles fan club. Tell you what, if Detroit...
I don't hate the fit
speed. I don't hate it at all. I mean, look, in Detroit, they get creative on offense. I know they don't have Ben Johnson anymore, but look, talent's talent. Sure, let's take Jalen Knowles Lions. Why not?
All right.
We've got. You're looking at Jameson, St. Brown, Tim Patrick, Jalen Knowles. You can do a lot worse than that. Sam Laporta, Jameer. They're still loaded. I know they lost the play caller, but the Lions are still loaded on offense. And at pick 102, look, you get to that point in the draft in like the 80s and beyond where you go, just take good players.
Yep.
Take players you like, right? And you know what? If the chat, there you go. Pick 102 for the chat. Jalen Knowles.
There we go. That was a chat pick right there for Jalen Knowles, because I know everyone was wanting Jalen Knowles higher, and he's probably going to go higher than that.
Probably. It's just certain times you get stuck in the needs, and you just look, there's a million different ways this could go. So it's all good.
All right, that wraps up our 3-round mock draft for you guys. Obviously, a lot more draft content coming on this channel, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of that great draft content. Trevor Sickman will be back from his wedding very, very soon, so he and Dalton will go over a lot more positional rankings for the 2025 NFL Draft, so make sure you guys check that out. For our producers back there, and Tyler, Eli, and Quinn, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Max Chadwick, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.